And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bash us, him.
Attention, roll call.
That's right. Good morning, everybody. 8:05 live Eastern Time, and of course, coast to coast. It's 5:05 Pacific Time. Bright and early. You got your Friday roundtable. John, Marlon, Sal, and myself. As we go forward, I just want to say I'm humbled and overwhelmed, as I said before, with the continued support I've received for Derek. Thank you so much to everyone. I appreciate it. I can't even thank everyone. There's so many people, but big shout out to Paul Conti, the coach, friend of retired Detective Mike Smith for lacrosse at Moore Catholic High School. The kids have sent numerous videos trying to motivate Derek. I really appreciate it. They put stickers on their helmet. DD1 for Derek Dim, number 1. Excuse me. They retired his number, so pretty impressive. Shout out. I'm wearing a 18th Avenue FDNY shirt. My cousin actually works there, and he brought a bunch of T-shirts and hooked up the Laguna Beach Fire Department here. Also, thank you to the unions that sent out care packages to Laguna Beach Police Department out here. Thank you, everyone that's helped in so many different ways. Big shout out to Amazing Aunt, of course. Shout out to Dr. Medina Bumgart. She's been a huge help. Paul Manicone, Chrissy Manicone. There's so many people, and you guys yourself, the finest Unfiltered family. So Friday roundtable. Let's get into it. What's up, John?
Yeah, no, we got a lot today. There's a lot of stuff to get through today, but we're gonna start on NYPD crime stats. Are they real? Are they fake? We just saw an NYPD captain get removed from his position in transit due to it's being alleged that he was fudging transit numbers. He's also, his command was the pilot program for how they're going forward and removing homeless out of the subways. So neither. Not that we have to say it, but I mean, we have a ton of info about this command, a lot from people within the command, a lot about the captain himself. We're gonna go around on it. Sal, what are your initial thoughts when you heard all this stuff?
Oh, listen, first and foremost, it's great to be back on the round table and with Eric. You're always in my hearts and prayers, brother. But I'll tell you this, because I had Eric Umansky on yesterday and on my show, and I mentioned this already. The thing with the numbers, if we all four of us can say we've worked in commands where there was always something going on. You would be in the street and be like, "Oh, you took a 61 for that? Oh, can't you say it's just a petty larceny?" So we've been down this road. If we're gonna focus on this CO and say he's the only guy doing it, that's not right, because every CO has done something, but the body for body scandal, I think, is the biggest thing going, because that's the long term will affect all the taxpayers and the cops. You're going to have false arrests, cops they have no choice. They're being told to do this. There's going to be lawsuits, CCRBs, and it's a pilot program apparently, John, that and Eric, it went all over it's all over the job. So now this homeless scam where we just bring in all these homeless guys like a revolving door. They get declined prosecution. That's job wide, and it's starting at 2-0 in transit. And I think they should be asking him, well, who told you, who's telling you to do this stuff, versus going about fudging the numbers? Because that's really, we should ask John Shell and what's his name, the chief of patrol, why are they allowing people to fudge numbers? Because this really comes from the top, not so much from the precinct commander.
Well, what are you thinking when the story broke?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. It's Friday. So, my initial thoughts on this are I wonder if anything's actually going to happen to this guy. Because, like I said online, that, Eric Adams is big on loyalty, right? Mm-hmm. And in his kind of delusional mind, this guy was trying to, help him out, So I mean, look at all the people he's promoted to the top. You only fail upwards on this job. And you, by being loyal, you're gonna keep your job rather than getting pushed out like Chief Pontillo or like the rest, like all of us on this chat right now. I mean, all of us on this podcast right now. So I think this is a widespread in the department, and it shouldn't surprise all of us because, you know, the department and the city are going through a squeeze right now. So you have their fiscal mess on the one end, and on the other end you have a lack of manpower, and those two are kind of squeezing the department. So in the absence of actually solving those issues, which is going to take a while, we should all expect more of this because there is no other solution but to get more manpower, and they don't have the money for that manpower right now. So get used to this. Get used to a couple of years of everyone manipulating those numbers.
Yeah.
Well, my initial thoughts were if they were trying to, help people out that are homeless and get them off the streets, the plan worked because there's going to be a lot of homeless people that have a great lawsuit coming, so they won't be homeless anymore. So if that was the plan, how do we get these people off the street and find them shelter? Let's do something that's unconstitutional. Let's make mass arrest, and then they could sue, and these guys will have even better homes than the cops do. So that's the plan. That's the plan. But you know what? All kidding aside, this is nothing new. What's really perplexing by this, and what I've pondered when it comes to this case, is why was he ousted in this? He's not the only one that's been fudging numbers. This has been happening for years. Was the pilot program something to put this captain out there? I'm curious. I don't know. We don't know. Is he close to the chest for Eric Adams? Is he not? We really don't know. But one thing you highlighted, Marlon, is you're absolutely right. It's not about the job that you do. It's about your loyalty to Eric Adams. So it's very interesting. But there are plenty of people. This is a phenomenon that's been going on for years. And I think that John and I have said it numerous times on the podcast. I've said it particularly. I've constantly said it. Excuse me. We said this for 2.5 years, that if you're working in crime analysis at the NYPD under Eric Adams, be very careful right now. Be very careful what you're asked to do by these commanders, because ultimately it's going to fall on them. If they started calling victims and re-interviewing them to reclassify these cases, that's completely intentional. To me, I think that this is actually, this could be criminal in nature. I do. And I just don't think it should be only him being punished. It's the nomenclature of the NYPD, especially under Eric Adams. This phenomenon has to stop. Even when I was working, John, Sal, Marlon, I'm sure you could reiterate the same, that plenty of commanders would be on top of these index crimes. And if you had an index crime, you had to text them right away and provide them information so that they could get in front of it. That's a major problem. We need to turn away from that. Dermot Shea, to his credit, former police commissioner, he did try to do that. Obviously, it didn't work. Here we are. It's only getting worse and more egregious.
Yeah, so two different things, right? Talking about fudging numbers, which is systemic in the NYPD. It's systemic with commanders, precinct commanders. It's systemic under Eric Adams' administration. It's probably worse than any time in history. Honestly, it's worse than the Giuliani years. It's worse than anything. I mean, we literally see in the newspaper, DCPI will basically tell the news a felony crime, spell out a felony crime, but say, oh yeah, the person was charged with a misdemeanor. The report was taken as a misdemeanor, and you're sitting there and you're going, what the hell's happening here? Like, there's no integrity anymore. So why was that captain outed, basically? So there's two different things. One, they have the pilot program on how they're going to deal with homeless in transit, which is basically, instead of going up to offer services first, they just go up and they're like, all right, he's under arrest, he's under arrest, he's under arrest, he's under arrest. They arrest all the homeless people. All of the cases get declined prosecution, as they should. And, if you go to any competent police departments or any competent leadership, or if you look at a time when the NYPD did have competent leadership, what we would do traditionally is go up to homeless and offer services at first. If only after delegation with the homeless, they refuse to leave and they refuse services, at that time, then they would be placed under arrest. And I agree with that. I think that's a humane thing. I think that's fair. I think that's public safety. But that's not what happened. We're locking up homeless. We're doing numbers for numbers. It's the dumbest thing ever. You're not even explaining it to homeless. People on the street are observing this. The cops are saying what the hell's going on. So that's one thing. And the guys couldn't stand doing it. They don't like doing it. The people in transit don't like doing it. And now this pilot went citywide. Why was it piloted out of his command? You got to sit there and ask yourself, right? Why? Because he was well liked by the upper echelon. And I watched the executive perspective on Wednesday, and Ron was warning everyone, "No, don't do it. Your career's over." And I'm like sitting there and I'm going, this guy's not career over. You haven't been paying attention. You haven't been paying attention. He's going to walk out of that trial room and he's going to get money stuffed in his pocket. You did it, kid. You did it. You broke your cherry. You broke your cherry. Now he is on the fast track. If Eric Adams gets reelected, that kid's a 2-star chief. You guys haven't been paying attention to what's going on in this administration. This is the worst administration ever. So why did he get outed? He got outed because all of the guys and the girls that he was holding, he was basically, you couldn't file a report as a felony. Sergeants, nothing. He was treating everyone like crap. So they were dropping IB log after IB log after IB log. And even that didn't get him in trouble. What got him in trouble? They leaked it to the news. That's how he got in trouble. That's the only way you're getting in trouble in the NYPD today, is if it gets out in the media. Or if you're not in the boys crowd, then of course you're going to get in trouble. O'Hare's going to come. He's going to get you for your White Sox. He's going to get you because your beard isn't whatever. They're going to get you for something ridiculous. But if you're in the in crowd, you're fine. This kid career, this is the best thing that ever happened to him. This is the fast track. This is the fast track. And like Marlon said, this is not something everyone's like, oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that is. This is how you get ahead. Compliance and silence, nothing else.
No, I think he's probably close to the king. That's what it is. And like I said, this has been going on for a while. And with Eric, as you know, and Marlon has pointed this out, he's the one that coined the phrase perception management. And of course, John Shell's always said we want to control the narrative. What's better controlling the narrative than fudging the numbers, which is something in the lines of what John Shell would want, especially as the head of the police department right now, chief of department. So again, he's going to get rewarded for this because that's what usually happens. You don't ever hear about some precinct commander is now, his career's finished because he was fudging numbers, because they're not doing it because they want to do it. They're doing it because they want to get promoted. Obviously, you want to retire as the highest rank and get your biggest pension. The fastest track to that is what? Oh, that grand larceny. No, that's really a pettit larceny. What the issue in this would be, I guess, the people that are also involved, like the sergeants and lieutenants. So they're going to probably end up whacking them with something small. Whether they could move on in their career, I don't know. But I saw someone in the chat mention it. I'm sure you've been there where you see the desk sergeants, some of them being rookies. They don't have a lot of time on in rank. And they'll say, oh, what do you mean you took this? What do you mean? And they're going out of their way to try to downgrade a crime, whereas it is what it is. Who cares? But they try to do that. So some of this, I don't know if some of this could be overzealousness, people trying to kiss up, or they're terrified because they're brand new sergeant. But again, you're right. This is part of perception management. This captain's going to come out with the money, kind of like Henry Hill. Oh, you broke a cherry, coming out in Goodfellas, and he'll get rewarded for this. The only thing that really should have, they should have put the caveat for is the numbers for numbers scam with the homeless people, because that's just disgraceful. That was a pilot program that is now citywide.
Marlon, just before you go, the special operations lieutenant and the crime analysis sergeant were both modified as a result. The captain was only transferred.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'd also like to add that this captain, according to the, I was looking at his 58, he spent time at Quality Assurance Division, which, for those of you who aren't familiar with the NYPD, they're the division whose job it is to make sure those numbers are legit. So this guy knew what he was doing, and he's been trained in Comstat judo, if you will. Yeah. But this is not only are we getting policies like it's 2005, we're also getting scandals like it's 2005 right now. So this is all funny. You know what's also funny? If you're an illegal, you get free housing. But if you're a citizen and you're homeless, you get locked up in jail. So it's if you zoom out and look at this, you have to wonder how long is the department planning to keep this up? I mean, you arrest a homeless guy, he's back out there in like a day, right? So what have we accomplished there? Well, what have we accomplished but the misallocation of resources? In which case, this guy's manipulating the numbers, just contributes to the misallocation of resources, right? So this is it's not a coincidence that we're seeing so much of this nonsense happening in the NYPD, because can anyone honestly look at the numbers and look at where the resources are and kind of understand where the city is going from the jobs perspective? I mean, if you have a guy like this captain manipulating the numbers, then how it's kind of hard to figure out the exactly where things stand with crime in the city. And this is a problem that's going to make things even worse on the new guy that comes in whenever Adams goes or whenever he replaces Tish.
Well, it's exactly what I've been saying for the longest time. John and I both have said on the podcast for over 2 years, if you're in crime analysis, the blame will fall on you. Shout out to our good friend over here, Mike Freed, in the comments. Mike Freed says that he was in crime analysis for 9 years. So, Mike, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The commander has already been removed from this. He hasn't been modified, no change of duty status, just a transfer. But yet, a sergeant and a lieutenant are going to hold the bag on this. No surprise. No surprise. I talk about it all the time, right? Tier 1, right? The upper echelon of the police department, anyone tied to nepotism. Tier 2, your khaki pants. And Tier 3 is your general population. So it's obvious they must be general populationists. But he figured out the code. How do you get promoted by rocket fuel? How do you become the next Cass Daughtry? Especially if you're a white guy in the police department, be loyal to Eric Adams. So you're spot on, Marlon, spot on, Sal and John. This guy is not going to get demoted. He's not going to get held and penalized and accountable. He's actually going to be elevated by rocket fuel in this police department. He's loyal to Eric Adams. Shout out here, Coffee and Donuts. Got a comment here from Shroom. Chica, $4.99. Great question. What do you guys know about the SBA's contract and the 12-hour tours? We got a 2-hour show for you. We will segue into that eventually. So before we do that, John, let's get the fun to the first.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, Fund the First. If you're going to do any fundraisers, highly suggest you use Fund the First. They're sponsoring this show now. And the good thing about them is that first of all, they take no fees, like the larger platforms like GoFundMe. On top of that, they verify the fundraisers. So I can't just open up a fundraiser for Eric and he not know about it. Like it's not possible. They verify everything. And then on top of that, we saw in 2020 that any fundraisers relating to police were getting pulled down. They were getting pulled down. All these companies are woke. And that was how this company actually formed. So we're proud to be in partnership with them. Like we said, if you're going to have any fundraisers, make sure you do the Fund the First. Be right back at you.
Ever wonder who helps our everyday heroes when they need support? Enter fundthefirst.com, a unique crowdfunding platform dedicated to first responders, their families, and their friends. Unlike typical sites, we don't take a cut. Every dollar goes directly to those in need. Whether it's for emergency medical bills, family emergencies, or equipment, fundthefirst.com is there. It's our chance to give back to those who risk it all for us. From police officers to firefighters, these heroes deserve our support. Want to make a real impact? Check out fundthefirst.com and show our heroes that we've got their backs. It's time to support those who always support us.
Right, we're back. All right, so I think the question is now, we continuously hear that crime is down in transit. We continuously hear from Eric Adams there are only 7 felonies a day in transit. I think Ron alluded to it too on the executive perspective. He's like, he was shocked about how many little felonies they take in the entire transit system. I don't believe it. I don't believe that New York City Transit, with over 8 million, with over 1 million riders daily, has only 8 felonies a day. It's only because of all of the crime and data manipulation. It's the only reason that crime's down currently in transit. It's the only reason that crime's down in the city right now. Even under this administration, crime has come down a little bit thanks to Donald Trump and Tom Homan scaring the shit out of everybody. 100%. Those migrant gangs ran out of New York City. The ones that were operating had nothing to do with anything that Eric Adams or anyone in leadership in the NYPD implemented. And it was so emboldened. This kid was so emboldened in the command that we're hearing that not only was he telling all of his people to fudge numbers and they couldn't take any reports that were felonies, right? They would spell out a felony on the 61, which is a complaint report. They would spell out a felony, whether it would be a robbery, whatever it is, through the story. This person was punched in the face, property was forcibly stolen. He would make them change. He would either make them change the complaint report, or he would have his main people, the SOL or the crime analysis sergeant. Supposedly, these complaint reports were getting changed, even though the cops didn't write that stuff on there. They were changing the charges on there to lower in the crimes. And apparently he was so emboldened that when people were pulling the 61s, when downtown was looking at these complaint reports and saying, wait a minute, this is a robbery, this needs to be upgraded, the CO was like, nope, I'm not upgrading it. I'm not upgrading it, which tells you everything you need to know. It's like, wait. So someone's getting a call from a higher up, from a bureau that's ran by probably a 1-star or a 2-star chief, and they're getting a call and they're telling them, no, we're not going to do that. You're getting a call. You're not going to upgrade a crime that you blatantly manipulated. Oh, you're not going to do that. You know why you're not going to do that? Because you have 3 stars, 4 stars, and a police commissioner telling you, don't worry about it, just keep doing it. Don't worry about it. So the internals of the NYPD are completely, utterly broken. We're going to get into that in a couple of other minutes about how broken the internals are. But what do you guys think about that? I mean, you're there, you're a cop, you're taking a complaint report for whatever the victim tells you, right? If the victim's always right? Whatever they tell us, that's what the crime is. They dictate what the crime is. We don't. That's how I was always trained. So you're told something, you report it accurately because you have to, because if you didn't, that would be perjury. So you act in integrity, and next thing you know, your complaint report's changed, and it's being changed by the people who are supposedly supervising you.
Yesterday when I had Eric Umansky on the show, and he was describing how Matthew Pontillo, who was the head of Risk Management Bureau, he was, ringing the alarm bells on everything going on there in CRT, and basically risk management. The Risk Management Bureau, they're supposed to stop the police department from doing anything illegal, crazy, anything that could come back. That's their job. And when he was ringing the alarm bells and he did an audit, what happened? Eddie Caban takes over and says, well, listen, we're going to demote you to captain or you can retire. So you see the mantra here. You have to be one of the boys or one of the girls, but more likely one of the boys that goes along with the perception management campaign. So their perception management here is crime is down. So I don't know how a captain can tell the chief, no, I'm keeping this crime the way it is, other than knowing that guy clearly has the backing of somebody extremely high up who's in on the skim saying, oh, crime is down, jobs are up, the city's not surviving, it's thriving. That's the perception. You have to go along with it. Those who go along with it, they're going to get rewarded. Unfortunately, they threw this sergeant and this lieutenant who clearly thought this captain said, "Oh, don't worry, I got your back," and they throw him to the wolves. But the captain will get promoted, and you're going to hear everything that comes from this guy in the future because he came from quality assurance. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's their hitman. And this is just like a pilot program that they want to spread, not only just with the homeless thing, but also with the crime, with the fudging the numbers, because this is what they want. You have to control the narrative via perception management. So no one better than Marlon to speak after me about this, because that's how I see it. It's just a constant mantra throughout the police department in just different sections of whatever it is that we're discussing with their actions.
Yeah, I agree, Sal. I said online that this is this is a loyalty test, and I'm 100%. I 100% believe it is, and that nothing's going to happen to this guy, because again, Eric Adams is fighting for his political life right now. Okay, right now, his concerns are twofold: to completely get rid of his case and re-election. And it doesn't help that the current Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, has also now put pressure on blue cities to clean up their transportation networks. He's promised to cut federal funds to transportation networks unless they make it safe, because according to him, safety is one of the prerequisites of getting that money. So this is another more pressure coming from above, and I think we shouldn't believe those numbers, and I don't think the city, and specifically Adams, cares about those numbers. I think he cares about getting rid of the numbers right now. That's his main concern. It's not about accuracy; it's about getting rid of these numbers so he can stop the pressure and he could appear as though he's getting in line with the Trump administration and he's doing as he's told, and that he's on the program 100%. And again, like I said, he's fighting for his political career. So if he doesn't get reelected in the fall, I don't think his career in politics is pretty much over. So I think this is a loyalty test, and those who do their part for the administration and keeping the administration there are going to be rewarded in Adams' second term.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that this captain was actually handpicked to do the pilot program because he was on board. There's no doubt about it. Because I don't believe in coincidences. I say it all the time. But the fact that this captain did the pilot program and that he was on board, to me, is not a coincidence. To me, I believe that there was private conversations before that he would handle business. I'm not saying they said, "Hey, fudge the numbers," but they said, "Hey, wink, wink, make sure you take care of this pilot program. It needs to work." It looks like this guy was on board. Exactly. His loyalty has shined through. There's no doubt in my mind that he's not going to be modified, demoted, held accountable criminally. He will be promoted by rocket fuel. He may be the next Kaz Daughtry. He may be the white version of Kaz Daughtry. That's what I see foreshadowing as we go forward. Big shout out, by the way, to the executive perspective. By the way, I love the show. I think the guys are doing awesome. As they did highlight the index crimes that are going on in transit. I mean, 7 in a day. Just think about how egregious and how low that sounds. It just sounds ridiculous because you have 12 transit district commands throughout the entire city. So we're saying that each command averages less than 1 major felony a day. To me, just that alone, that's glaring, and that's an eyesore to me. John, you're shaking your head because I agree. That is insane. Think about it.
It's not possible. I honestly, like, I would like, every time I hear him say it, it makes me just want to go sit in one transit station and observe a couple of felonies in like a 3-hour period. Because I think in a 3-hour period, I could probably, if I hit the right targets, I could probably hit 3 or 4 in a 3-hour period where I could observe it, get it on camera, and be like, "Oh yeah, here it is." Here it is. Break the whole narrative that there's only 7 a day. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, S.E. Gettin says it better. He says 7 per hour. Yeah, that's more like it. 100%. That's more like it. We're talking, especially at peak hours, talking about grand larcenies. You're talking about robberies. You're talking about felony assaults. 100% at least 7 an hour. That's more like it. Probably in the not in the midnight, but in the rush hour part of the day, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think the whole thing is a joke at this point. I don't know how anyone believes anything that comes out of Eric Adams' mouth, the police commissioner's mouth. I think that includes Jessica Tisch, or anyone in the upper ranks of the NYPD. I mean, look what happened. The person that pushed for this to happen, who was the commanding officer. Now, ultimately, was he the ultimate person who came up with this idea? Like, oh, we're not gonna take any felonies. No, obviously, it came from the upper echelon. And I don't agree with Eric. I think they told him flat out, we're not taking any felonies. Mayor's getting reelected. We're saying this. This is what it is. Chronicles of the Collapse says it here. Zero Hedge article. These are the states where it's toughest to be a criminal. List New York as number 3, taking into consideration only arrests per 100K people. Absolutely not even close to the truth, right? Not even close to the truth. Taking into consideration arrests. So let's look at those arrests. Homeless guy, we walk up to him and we lock him up. Guy who qualifies for a DAT or a summons, we lock him up because guess what? We need to make this pilot program work because I'm in with the dream team and they told me that this pilot program better work and I better bring in these numbers and I'm going to get them and I better not have many felonies. And to me, it's like, we have no idea the crime that's in New York City. No one knows. No one knows. Not the FBI, not the NYPD, because they don't know. They could, even if you went backwards and you were like, I want to audit all these crimes, you're not going to know. You're not going to know the amount of stuff that they've done, the amount of harm that they've caused in New York City. You can't properly fight crime when you don't report it. If you don't report the crime, you don't know where the crime's happening. You can't see the patterns. You don't know what's happening. You don't know who's doing what. And then by not reporting the crime, you're also not arresting the right people. So if the crime was reported right, or you catch the perp that was involved in doing numerous grand larcenies, those grand larcenies are petit larcenies, so that's not even a pattern. We don't even know about that. So we catch him for doing the grand larceny. We don't charge him with doing the grand larceny because, hey, we can't take a felony because we only take 7 felonies a day. It doesn't matter that we apprehended the perp. Right? He's still only getting charged with a petit larceny. And guess what? He's out on the street committing grand larceny after grand larceny after grand larceny after grand larceny, and no one knows about it. Well, I mean, you know about it when you're on the subway and your phone gets snatched or your purse gets stolen or you get beat up when one of those turns into a robbery. You know how the police treated you. You know the report was not taken properly. You know that. The cop knows it was wrong. He's like, wait a minute, I took that as a why am I not getting the credit for a felony arrest? I observed him commit a grand larceny. I arrest him. I should be getting credit for a felony arrest. Not getting credit for a felony arrest. He's getting credit for a petit larceny arrest. And then he's going down to the district attorney office and they're bumping it up. And that's happening every day, hundreds of times a day. And yet we're going to sit here and say that we should believe these people and let them talk to us on the news. I think that there's a couple of solutions here that cops need to take in, and supervisors. If you're gonna be involved in this scam, you deserve everything that happens to you. I'm like, literally, I personally believe you deserve to be in jail. That's my opinion. I think that you're committing a crime. I think you're creating an egregious attack. But I think what cops really need to do is you need to fully document everything in your memo book and maybe even get a statement. Maybe even take a statement from the person reporting the crimes going forward and then let them do whatever they do with it. If your 61 gets changed and it gets brought to your attention down the road, then you do what you got to do. I never did that. Then you notify IB. But I don't even recommend calling IB right now because you know what? Because the same way that this kid's going to get the captain he's going to get the money in his pocket and they're going to be like, oh, you broke your cherry. You're part of the crumbs crew. We could trust you. You actually stand up in integrity, you're going to be ousted. So I wouldn't even look into those things. I would just take the report the way the report is, document everything properly, and go about your business. And don't worry about it. And when it comes back and you're sitting in the GO, I have no idea. This is the report I took. Here's my memo book. Here's this. And then if stuff starts to happen, go to the media. And if you guys keep getting pressured, leak it to the media, because that's what needs to happen. Because clearly there's no internal systems that work in the NYPD.
I want to say big ups to Michael Freed. Michael Freed, good friend to the podcast. He's been real active today in the comments. Said he spent 9 years doing crime analysis. Great point here. He said, don't forget some of these crimes they put on the precinct instead of transit, especially grand larceny. Can't prove it happened on transit. I think that's a great point, Michael Freed. Definitely has some great insight. So, Michael Freed, as we go along, if you have any other insight, especially in your time in crime analysis, put in the chat. It helps out. I think you're 100% right, especially when it comes to grand larceny, right? A lost credit card that was used. Well, who knows where it was lost? That's an easy one. I definitely agree with you. Who's going to say, well, whether you lost on the train or not? That's a great point to put out there. And John, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's gotten to the point that we talk about all the time, right? The pressures of the NYPD externally are nothing compared to what's going on internally. So at this point, you're getting pressure on your overtime. You have to be mindful of all your overtime. If you're retiring, you're on the button and your pressure's put on you for your overtime. If you're out there doing patrol and you're taking reports, you now have to worry if you can trust your own commanding officer or the crime analysis unit there. You have to make copies of your reports. You have to get statements, document all this in your memo book. What a hell of a time. It must be a great time to be a cop. I can't believe that cops are leaving. I can't believe that we're having a staffing crisis. I mean, what a great job. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, this is such a great job. Am I right, Sal?
Yeah, listen, again, I give a shout out to Executive Perspective that they helped yesterday. They had good questions. Ron Lason says right here, I believe a lot of the grand larceny crimes are reported above ground because of the location of discovery. That's another problem that they have. I guarantee you that's some of the stuff that went on over there. So then what? So then you're just trying to pass the buck. Oh, it's the precinct. Oh, it happened in housing. Oh, it really originated in another borough. Oh, you can do all these different things where you're just passing the buck. But in the end, those crimes start and happen in transit, especially the felonies, where you also have noticed Sam Antar and Reza's charts, especially Sam Antar on whitecollarfraud.com. He'll show you that violent crime goes like this. It goes straight up with Eric Adams. And they're trying to say, oh, no. There's only 7 felonies a day in transit, which is, I think that is ridiculous. But again, Eric, like you were saying, and John, these people like the foot soldiers for Eric Adams. In order to be part of Crumbs, which John's book is getting bigger by the second, I don't think it's ever going to get finished. It's like you have to be corrupt, inept, incompetent, have no integrity, and hey, welcome to the crew. You're great. And the list can go on and on. And this is just another microcosm of the bigger picture of all these problems they have. And they're just trying to misdirect the public and the taxpayer. Oh, there's nothing going on here. There's crumbs. What are you talking about? Me, Eric, I didn't do that. No, what? They're charging someone in the Eastern District. I'm being investigated over there. No, they dropped my case. Oh, wait. I'm using the defense of all these things that they're doing to me. I did to Luigi Mangione? No, it's not me. What are you talking about? That's what we have going on. It's really, it's like a Jedi mind trick. Or maybe we could hear more about Eric Adams, shorties, and Negroes, or whatever else he wants to talk about. Guy's out of his mind lately.
Yeah, I just like to remind everyone that the MTA is in $45 billion of debt. So every one of those felonies is another $6.4 billion that could potentially be removed by Sean Duffy, or could potentially be given to the MTA by the feds. So don't think for a second that part of that pressure coming down on Eric Adams right now isn't coming from Hochul, because if the feds can't give those funds, then it puts the state in the the state has to pick it up. So that pressure is coming from the top, and it's squeezing Eric Adams, and in turn Eric Adams is going to pass it on down to the commanders. But if they do their job and he gets reelection, like we said, you can expect these guys are going to get rewarded, and as John says, it's how if you're in 1PP, how do you actually know what's what's really going on if your numbers aren't accurate. You know, if you're not in that transit district every day, how do you actually know what's actually happening? You mean you don't have the accurate numbers? And even worse, you know, I think we tend to I think people tend to downplay how much of a dirtbag move it is to play with the numbers, because if you're a resident of the city, if the department is playing with those numbers and not giving accurate statistics, it kind of gives you a false sense of security, you know? So you don't know if you know a particular station is you know, really bad, then maybe you'll take the bus to the next station, or maybe you'll take the bus to work today, or you know, find some alternate route. But if you yourself as a citizen, as a resident of the city, have a false sense of security, then you're going to be, you know, people tend to walk with their heads in the clouds if they're not aware of what's really going on. And that really is terrible. You know, if you think about like the old people who aren't paying attention to the news every day and don't know this stuff, you know, and they're going to go down there in that subway, they're going to go to that station and get victimized. That really irks me, you know.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind when we talk about loyalty. Juju's present here, so talk about loyalty. Juju, thanks for showing up. Yes, exactly. It's interesting, right? I mean, maybe I should text Michael Kemper and ask him about, you know, how this actually works now that Michael Kemper is not in the NYPD anymore. He was definitely
MTA mall. Take it easy.
That's true. That's true. He was the best salesman for the NYPD. So, but listen, Eric Adams, he had to go out to Rockaway to see his shorty. He had to jump the turnstile. So, according to Eric Adams, no one has to pay the fare in transit anyway. Thank you to Eric Adams. Make jumping turnstiles great again. So, you know what? I think we nailed it. Let's segue into the next topic. What do you think, John?
Yeah. Just before we do, I want to. We're definitely. I think we're going to end with the hopping turnstiles and Eric Adams' take on it. We'll end off because we need a good laugh to end on. But let's segue into Kaz Daughtry getting a waiver to not live in the city and be a deputy mayor. But before we do, I just question for all you guys. I personally believe that what we read about is systemic. I don't believe that this is a one-off. Oh, this captain was just close to Madry and the Crumbs crew. I don't believe he's a one-off. I believe he's the norm, not the exception. I'm just curious your guys' thoughts. Eric, start with you, Sal, Marlon. Do you guys think it's systemic, or do you think he's a one-off?
Oh, spot on. I think it's definitely systemic. I think it's going out. I think it's the overwhelming majority in the department right now. I think if anyone is not playing this game, they're an anomaly. I'd be shocked. I mean, I think this is the template right now for the NYPD, especially under Eric Adams, especially with perception management. Marlon Sal love to say, control the narrative. How do you control the narrative? You control your people. So that's what I think what's going on. There's no doubt about it. I just think that this captain in particular happens to have a supreme amount of loyalty, and he was the guy to spearhead this pilot program to really get in front of it. But there's no doubt about it. The overwhelming majority, I would say they're probably all doing it. I'd be shocked to find out a commander is not playing this game. You know what? I guess we'll find out. I'm sure I'll get phone calls today from cops, and they'll let me know. I would find it hard to believe this. The commander is just going down the straight line. I mean, even before this egregious administration, there was always a fine line where commanders played that game, you know, not necessarily fudging the numbers, but really diving deep and, you know, starting to depreciate merchandise. You know, I didn't know that maybe Michael Kemper learned it from the NYPD that some of these guys were the best salesmen, because many times we've all been there. We made arrests for grand larceny, and somehow commanders are also retail experts. I'm like, oh, you know, that car or whatever item is, you know, it's 6 years old. So I don't know if they have the true value book and they start depreciating it. So no doubt in my mind, this is absolutely systemic. So what about you, brother?
And I don't only think it's systemic. Actually, someone in the comments mentioned someone who we will not name, who was best friends or thought he was best friends with Eric personally, calling him every day, and acts like he doesn't know Eric. They're saying that he fast-tracked his career. How? By doing exactly what we're talking about today. I don't think it's just one person. It's clearly this. The CEO of a precinct's almost like a political position in itself. You are the political, we'll say, on the boots on the ground, the political guy for the One Police Plaza, or the chief, because these are like political positions within the NYPD. So what your job is, again, perception management. That's one of the major things. So if we could keep crime down by saying all the things that we mentioned just now, all four of us, that's it. You're going to perceive that narrative is going to be crime is down, whatever precinct it is, whatever transit district it is. But again, I think John mentioned a lot of good things. Like, I think cops should write everything in their memo books, take statements, because if anything ever goes wrong, don't let them always go after the lowest guy in the totem pole, which would be you as a cop, and say, no, here's all the stuff. You have to actually think on your feet, on your toes, and almost think like a lawyer and say, what is the repercussions of this if XYZ goes wrong tomorrow, a year from now? They come and ask, because that's what's going to end up happening. The ramifications of the Crumbs crew is not just for today. Think of 10 years down the road, because trust me, this is just the tip of the iceberg on the top of the stuff that these guys have been doing. You heard a little bit yesterday. You're going to hear a little bit more today about it's just nonstop. So I think this guy taking the fall, he's not really going to take the fall, but I think it's a systemic problem. And you can't just blame one CEO, because they're all doing it, because that's what Eric Adams wants. That's how you move ahead. You either go along to get along, or you get chopped up and they tell you, we're going to demote you back to captain, or you could leave, like they did to Matthew Pontillo.
Yeah, it's not only it's systematic. It's 100% systematic, because, like I said, the department's going through a squeeze right now, and the city is going through a squeeze right now, and there's no solutions for the current problems of the city. I mean, in terms of policing, other than we need more manpower. You need more cops. You need more humans. You need more boots on the ground. And until the city acknowledges that problem, none of these issues are going to be solved. And the only way to get these numbers lower will be to, break out the eraser, I also said online, I talked online on Twitter about how Adams put Kaz, why Adams put Kaz where he is. And one of those things I said was because of his loyalty, and his loyalty above the rules. Okay. Kaz is there because Kaz, unlike, say, Chief Pontillo, Kaz won't follow the patrol guide. He won't take advice from legal. He won't use his years of supervisory experience, because he doesn't have it. He just jumps in there and gets it done, irrespective of the potential legal consequences, because he's loyal to Adams. He knows he's going to get protected. And look, he has been protected, and he's been rewarded handsomely. This guy gets a promotion every 6 months just by walking in the door. So with that said, guys who do this are going to be rewarded. So the rewards right now outweigh the risks for them not doing this. So why wouldn't they continue doing it? They all know they need to keep Adams there. And the only way to keep him there is to lower those numbers.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you totally. There's nothing, there's really, it's if you look at the whole, as you're talking, I'm just like thinking about all of the people who have been promoted in the Adams administration, and it's failing forward. Right. But it's in Adams' eyes, it's not. It's loyalty. Right. Oh, he's loyal to me. Kaz Daughtry is probably one of the dumbest cops to ever enter the New York City Police Department. He's failed at every level. Police officer, detective 3rd grade, detective 2nd grade, detective 1st grade, assistant commissioner, deputy commissioner. And now he'll fail at deputy mayor. He hasn't done anything yet, in my opinion, but it's coming. Believe me, it's coming. It's coming shortly. Probably by the end of the week, there'll be somebody, and the next week there'll be something in the news about him. But yeah, he's moved up just because he's completely loyal. The laws don't matter. The rules don't matter. They don't matter in the Adams Administration. They don't follow them. Nothing. They'll hold you to an impossible standard, and they're held to zero standard. So Kaz Daughtry makes media. Media's all over him for getting a waiver for living outside of the 5 boroughs, as you're supposed to. If you're a commissioner or a deputy mayor, you're supposed to live within the 5 boroughs. Juju's pointing to the fact that me, Eric, and Sal are no longer in New York City. But when you look at us combined, I mean, there's over 200 years of experience between all 4 of us living inside and policing inside of New York City. Of 120 years experience sitting on this panel. And that's why we're able, I'm sorry, you have 180 years experience. That's until I fell math in school. 100, close to 200 years of experience in New York City. And that's how we're able to dissect what's happening in New York City, not only in the public safety sphere, but in the political sphere as well. So thanks for pointing that out, Juju, because I just realized how much experience we do have in New York City policing the streets. But there's been a lot of media about Kaz Daughtry, and I'm not shocked at all. I'm like, nobody said a word when Keechant Sewell was like, oh, I only live a few blocks outside of the 5 boroughs. It's like, well, guess what? You should move your ass in and move a few blocks into the 5 boroughs. That didn't happen. Ed Caban, another one, did not happen. And there's numerous other ones in the Adams administration. So as much as I could sit here and beat up Kaz Daughtry, I don't really give a shit, because everyone else got a waiver to double dip. Everyone else is okay to live outside of the 5 boroughs. I mean, the mayor is basically, he's a Fort Lee, New Jersey resident. Go back to 2020. Look at his Zoom meetings. There's not one of them in that Brooklyn apartment he supposedly lived in. They're all in a condo in Fort Lee, New Jersey. So you telling me he didn't live in Fort Lee, New Jersey? What do I care? What do I care at this point about Kaz Daughtry? The rules are out the window. However, just point a note. Any of you guys live in Jersey, you'll get fired within 30 days. Just so you know.
Oh, yeah. But, I think I pointed this out yesterday as well. So obviously the waiver is important only because as a deputy mayor, you have to live in New York City. So they did a waiver for that. The second waiver that matters is a 211 waiver. The 211 waiver is you have a pension. Let's say you worked for the city and you already have a pension. You need a waiver from the city to then go work for the government. Okay. Because then you'll have 2 pensions. There never is a record of Anthony Miranda, Timmy Pearson, and Philip Banks, who worked in the police department, have pensions, and now worked in the Eric Adams administration. The closest we got was many years ago when it was Anthony Miranda, who worked for DCAS for a short time, I believe under Bill de Blasio. He filed a waiver, which he got. So there is a record of people, that's what they do. They have to do it. So Kaz Daughtry would have to file a 211 waiver because we assume that as deputy mayor, he no longer is an active police department employee. He's no longer a member of service. So his pension stops. He's on leave, and he has to file a 211 waiver because now he's going to have one from the city. No one's even talked about this. So now we don't know if he's still in the police department, if now his other pension started. He can't collect 2 at the same time, which is what this waiver is designed to stop. But again, I don't know. With this guy, it's like you said, John, anything goes. We've noticed that the Crumbs crew does anything. They just do whatever the hell they want, and no one's ever held accountable. And when you finally get something where you think you have a guy who's indicted, here comes Emil Bove and Boris Epstein and come and they rain on the parade. So it's like, I don't know what to say. This is the cesspool that New York City runs in. It's unbelievable.
Marlon, you got anything?
Yeah, you know what? Just one quick thing. Something I was thinking about yesterday, right? I think we know there's 2 police departments within the police department right now, right? You have the regular tradition, you have the regular NYPD, and then you have the CRT guys, right? And part of the package with the CRT guys includes all the tech that also is spearheaded by Kaz. You got the drones, you got the robots, you got all the AI, and now the AI body cameras, right? That we've learned about, right? All of that is part of a package to re-engineer the department. And I said online that it's part of a package to re-engineer the department cheaper, right? So where am I going with this, right? In terms of the numbers fudging, I think that the part of the plan is the numbers are going to get fudged, right? Hear me out. Numbers are going to get fudged until the new department's ready. And the new department is what I said, where they want all this tech tightly integrated with like a CRT, that a kind of rapid response unit that they can kind of shift and move around the city as different trouble spots pop up. So again, going back to what we said the last go around, expect more of this. Okay, expect more of this for a couple of years until they've totally ironed out their new technology-based policing.
You gotta love Eric Adams, though, right? Eric Adams, he was whipping crackers' asses, right, as he was getting promoted within the police department. Eric Adams visiting his shorty by jumping turnstiles. Eric Adams made 8 joints out of a little nickel bag. Eric Adams is very he's a mentor. He's a model for New York City. He really is. Thank you very much. Goodbye, Stephen Holmes. Really, outstanding.
No, we just gotta address Stephen Holmes 1 second. Sorry to cut you off, but Stephen, we put you in timeout. You're not out of here, but we wanna know exactly who you are. So you're invited to come on the podcast and talk about it. But since you're not actually a real person, I don't think that you will, since you've been here to slander and defame, which, guess what? Shell, Marjorie, Kaz have all been accused of about the 50th time. So you're a loser. Hit us up in the email. We'll have you come on. You could address your grievances, Stephen.
Yeah, no doubt.
Whatever your real name is.
Oh, doubt. Listen, if you don't have a real name and you're hiding behind a fake moniker, I mean, honestly, we're not even listening to you. And listen, this is a First Amendment free speech zone. But if we don't know who you are, you know what? Identify yourself. Come on the podcast. We can have these conversations. We're not running from anybody. Absolutely. But look, like, as I said, Eric Adams, man, his messages to New York City. Think about it. This is young kids growing up that maybe say, hey, I'd like to be in politics one day. This is what they're learning. You could jump turnstiles, go visit your shorty, call white people crackers. I mean, this is right. This is, you can roll 8 nickel bag into 8 joints. This is what we learned from our mayor. This is what Mayor Eric has. John, you got the video? We got to play it.
No, we're gonna do that at the end. We're gonna end with that.
Oh, even better. Okay, let's segue to the next topic. I think, I think we nailed it here. I think you guys gave excellent perspective. I think for the most part, we're pretty much in agreement that it is systemic in the police department right now when it comes to fudging numbers. And that, what we identified is, it's not about what you do that's right or wrong. It's what do you do for Eric Adams and what do you do for his administration?
Yeah, so Kaz Daughtry flouted the rules yet again. He's probably still getting overtime and all this other stuff, and he's still technically accruing money towards a uniform pension when he should have been retired from the NYPD. So, I mean, what's the big deal? I mean, he doesn't follow the rules, he doesn't follow the laws, he doesn't follow anything, and he just keeps getting promoted. So, shout out to Kaz Daughtry. So, next topic, and I think this is important to highlight, because this is Jessica Tisch's now, I think it's her second biggest failure. So we saw a huge overtime scandal happen, right? Huge overtime scandal. We know that in the NYPD, overtime control systems have been in place for 20 years. They worked perfectly. There was nothing wrong with them other than the people at the top were corrupt. That's it. They were corrupt. They traded sex for overtime. They traded overtime for whatever they needed. They used the NYPD's overtime and federal funds as if it was their own money. And they could bribe people with it, and they could do whatever they want with it, and they could get trips paid for, and they could do whatever they want. I'll give you this, you give me X back, right? I'll give you 50 hours a month, you give me 10 back. Think about how lucrative that could be if you do that over 1,000 people. I'll give you 50 hours a month, Sal. You don't even have to work them. I just want 10 back. I'll give you 50 hours a month. I just want 10 back. Cash. Okay. Okay. So, and that's basically what was happening, right? So, overtime scandal gets found out. No one gets disciplined for it. Literally nobody. Actually, people get promoted for it. People that were involved either stay as the first deputy commissioner, get promoted from the chief of patrol to the chief of department, get promoted from deputy commissioner operations to deputy mayor of public safety. So everyone gets rewarded that's involved in this scam. And Jessica Tisch comes out and says, we've placed new overtime controls. Timeout. What failed in the overtime? Where was the failure that allowed this overtime control, that allowed these people to happen? There was no failure. It was blatant corruption. The failure was in the people running it. The failure was in the integrity of the people running it, who are still today running it. So now fast forward to today, right? She pulls this maneuver, tells everyone, oh yeah, we changed it. You didn't change anything. You just now have to watch the people because you have low integrity criminals running the largest police department in the world. You didn't change anything. You're just now overseeing what they're doing because they can't be trusted, because they have no integrity, because the mayor is running a criminal enterprise. And you decided you wanted to be the police commissioner under this. So that doesn't change. So now what comes out yesterday? Yesterday it comes out that if there's any forms of sexual harassment or any equal opportunity complaints related that are things in sexual of nature, no longer will those be reported directly to the Deputy Commissioner of Equity and Inclusion. Instead, it will go directly to the police commissioner. Does anybody remember a deputy commissioner of equity and inclusion being arrested or being removed from the police department? Because I don't. I know someone that got rewarded and just recently left and got another job in corrections. That's the deputy commissioner of equity and inclusion, Wendy Garcia. And then all of a sudden, that system, I guess, was broken as well. So that also will get reported to Jessica Tisch. So all the people that are getting paid and they have a staff that's worth probably $20 million each, they're not responsible for anything. Everything's just going to fall on Jessica Tisch now. But what happened? I wonder what happened. It's almost as if people were reporting legitimate corruption and legitimate sexual harassment complaints, and the deputy commissioner of equity inclusion for the NYPD was chick-handing them, meaning she was not reporting them. And what we know in the NYPD is that there are people that are mandated reporters, right? You could sign up to be a mandated reporter by being, if you're in the rank of cop or detective, by being working and becoming a liaison, or once you make supervisor of any rank, you are a mandated reporter. If you become aware of sexual harassment or discrimination or sexual assault, you must report. If you don't report, not only is it termination, you could be held criminally liable too. Do you think that the deputy commissioner of equity inclusion should be a mandated reporter, or is? I would think they hold it all on their shoulders. But apparently, I guess not. Because again, we're seeing rewards and not arrests and not terminations. What do you guys think about what just came out yesterday, that now any complaints about discrimination or sexual assault or anything of that nature goes directly to the police commissioner?
Well, that solidifies and validates what we've been saying, that the checks and balances of the police department are completely broken down because they're inept, inadequate. Internal Affairs and OEEO are henchmen for the upper echelon. They hammer cops to deflect from what's going on in the upper echelon. We have numerous sexual allegations from various women within the NYPD at different leadership of the upper echelon, including the Eric Adams administration, and the Corporation Council is paying for it at this point. It's taxpayers' money. And there has been nothing in place to say, okay, Here's where we found fault is a breakdown in the controls and the system that we have. And all we're going to do is micromanage it by having the police commissioner put their finger on it. This is absolutely ridiculous. Goes back to what I said. If that is the case, that the police commissioner is going to put their finger on it, then why do we have chiefs anyway? Why do we have any leadership in the police department? Let's get rid of the entire chief rank. Let's get rid of all these deputy commissioners, because that's what you're saying. And again, epic fail when it comes to Tanya Kinsella. She is responsible for the overtime. She testified to it and was never held accountable. And instead, we're just going to make an additional layers, as Tanya Kinsella said it herself. We added additional layers, but that didn't work. So now we're adding more additional layers instead of correcting the problem by holding failed leadership accountable. But that's the Eric Adams administration. Shout out to Latina Brown. Good morning. She says Wendy Garcia should be in jail. Absolutely. These are mandatory reports, not just by the police department. If you're a dentist or if you're a teacher, there are things that have to be reported, mandatory reporters, if you're in a position of authority, not just the police department. So she should be held accountable too.
Yeah, look, I think about a week ago when I had Eric Sanders on, he's Quatisha Epps' attorney. I tried to ask him. I was trying to ask him and said, I understand that it's alleged that she had made this complaint about everything long before anyone knew about anything, and it went to her office, and obviously nothing happened. And he couldn't admit it or deny it, but we know that there's a federal investigation, so that is yet to be determined what happens to Wendy Garcia. Even though internally she's getting rewarded, she went to corrections. But with her in particular, there's a pattern. And that we heard about a lawsuit recently that was between an IEB sergeant and an IEB lieutenant. Same kind of predatory behavior, same pattern where they made a complaint to EEO and nothing happened. Now, I know EEO, there's going to be a lot of stupid complaints there as well. Cops don't like each other. They make up some story. But when it comes to executives and the names you see and how, it's always the same behavior, and they're connected to Eric Adams and the Crumbs crew, then you say to yourself, okay, we have a problem here. But that's not what she did. She was too busy partying with them up in our favorite place up there that's no longer there in the Bronx. So it's a whole crew.
What's the name of it? What's the name of it? I forgot.
Ponzo Frito. They all were up there, and she was dancing, probably stomping on your reports while she was up there. So, and now, we don't report this, not even to internal affairs. You got to go directly to the police commissioner. I've never heard about John. Anyone here, have you ever heard of filing a report directly to the police commissioner? And then who the hell is going to even listen to that? Because I think
that's why I get rid of all these chiefs and commissioners.
Get rid of all of them.
What's the point of having this?
By the way,
I'm the police commissioner.
We need every show from now on. We need a time check on the half hour with Cansa Fritos from you. Every half hour, we'll know. Okay, it's 30 minutes. Cansa Fritos.
Listen, that place ties into it's constant with this crew. It ties in everything. But again,
pictures of her? Is she in your Rolodex?
Who?
When do you go see? You got pictures of her at Cansa Fritos?
Yes. Okay. She's very friendly with Jimmy Rodriguez, the mob associate, self-admitted criminal that threatened this show on top of it. But that guy, her in particular, and this whole scandal with Wendy Garcia and how they handled all these EEO complaints. Recently, Tish had transferred people from internal affairs for this reason, the head of internal affairs. But then you find out that they transferred one guy in particular, from Group 1 to Staten Island back to Group 25. So that's a farce as well. So Tish is a schemer, and the only reason no one holds her accountable, especially from the political sphere, is Daddy pays the bills. Daddy's donating. He donates to the Democrat Party. Don't touch his daughter. So that's what's really the problem here. She's just as inept and corrupt as Donlin, the guy that nobody remembers, Caban, and unfortunately even Sewell, who tried to do something and got axed out, but yet she was seen with Jimmy Rodriguez. They're all the same. Everybody here is the same. And it's one reason why, because Eric Adams is the mayor. And until he's the mayor, expect to hear more and more and more of this stuff.
Yeah. Sal is spot on. You know, this changes nothing because the same power structure are in place. You know, well, if you report a EEO to Tish, I mean, what's going to happen if that person is in that Eric Adams circle? You know, they're just going to pick up the phone and go call Kaz, and nothing's going to happen to them. Yeah. So this is again like the typical NYPD of like, we're gonna change everything around. We're gonna go around the problem and change everything around it, but actually solve the actual problem. You know, oh, you got a lot of unaccounted overtime. Oh, we're gonna transfer you. We're gonna have new overtime controls. You know, we're not going to punish the actual people who allowed you to take that overtime because they're connected to Eric Adams. Oh, you submitted a fake vax card. We're going to transfer you for a couple months, and then we're going to bring you back. You know, we're not going to deal with the issue that led to that anyway. You know, this is typical NYPD, and again, the same power structure in place. So what can Tish really do here? You know, what can Tish really do when somebody goes around her and picks up the phone and calls Kaz or calls Eric Adams? Nothing. So what's the point of this? This is just to make her seem as though she's in control of the department and that she's the next version of Ray Kelly, and it's bogus, you know.
Sal, it's just
total nonsense.
Is Jessica Tish Consafritos alumni?
So far, no. Well, she came well after the fact that the place closed and Caban was still in power. So,
well, she could buy Consafritos.
She might have some because listen, Jimmy somehow is connected to the Democrat Party. In fact, he's friends with Pete Diddy and Hillary Clinton. So who knows? I mean, her father, might be involved in that little circle. So who knows if she does or doesn't know him? But the fact remains that Wendy Garcia was up there during this whole time, and nobody had a problem. No one had a problem with anything. And God forbid you spoke out. I can't believe you have to report an EEO directly to the police commissioner, because it's like Marlon said, it'll go right to Kaz. Oh, I have a problem. Kaz Dordry did this to me. He said this to me. Kaz is going to know right there. So it's still the same function. That's the problem. Whatever you do goes right back to them, which was the system that was in place previously before Tish got there. So this is never going to get resolved. It's only going to get resolved when Eric Adams goes and chases his shorties out of New York, out of office, and you never see him again as mayor. That's when this ends.
Yeah. I wonder if Kaz probably now has access to, not only does he has access to the top floors whenever he wants now, he probably is watching on the cameras at all times, So it's crazy.
But just think about how lucky the FDNY is now that he became a fire expert too. So like they got so congrats to you guys. He's like it's great. They get to share him. They get to share him. So it'll be fun. But yeah, I mean, dude, like the thing that like I love about the Post and the Daily News is you're missing a key factor in your reporting. Why? Why is it now being reported? Why are these crimes now being reported directly to the police commissioner? Why? What happened? What was the failure in the system? What was wrong with the system that was in place other than that the people that were in place were completely corrupt and be in jail? Honestly, I'm Jessica Tish. I'm not lasting long, but I'll tell you right now, a lot of people are going to be in handcuffs. A lot of people are going to be in handcuffs. A lot of people. DAs are going to have a lot of shit cannon to do on their end. I might not be the police commissioner long, but the DAs are going to have a lot of shit cannon to do on their end, because this is a criminal enterprise that's being run. Latina Brown says that if the complaint goes back to the police commissioner, wouldn't that make her a witness? Absolutely, it would. Wouldn't that have to make her a decision on how to move forward with the complaints? She can be subpoenaed. Absolutely. She's not seeing straight. And this is why, and I watch all of these people running to this administration to work with them. I have no respect for them. Randy Maestro running. He's now a first deputy mayor. Good luck to you, bro. Because I know who you are. Everyone, this is my friend. He's a good guy. He's this, he's that. Oh, yeah, he's going to work for Eric Adams? Okay, I know who he is. Good guy, Mo. Okay, yeah, good guy.
John,
Eric,
I just want to tell you, I think you're gonna need to spell your book crumbs with a Z because there's just so much stuff. It's gonna be CRUMBZ, not CURBS, because there's just so much stuff going on. This is insane, dude.
So, and Eric says, what do you guys think about internal affairs being an outside source so it's not easily corruptible? We already said it on here a long time ago. There's absolutely no way the Internal Affairs Bureau should report to either the police commissioner or the mayor. Because what happens when you have a criminal enterprise running a city? The Internal Affairs Bureau is not only not looking out for corruption, they're helping the corruption further along, and which has been happening the last 4 years. So, I mean, they're criminally liable, too. And what happened? Sal told you what happened. They moved a bunch of people out of internal affairs, and there was all these news articles about how Jessica Tisch removed all these people. And then they just cycled them right back in and put them in higher groups. Right? So it's like, you didn't report that, right? Nobody wanted to report that, right? No. Can't lose the crumbs, Mo, because it's all about crumbs. New York City's kickback city. That's all it is. Public safety, biggest grift in the city. It's the biggest money maker in the city. Look at Kaz Daughtry. God, and you know, and not to get off topic here. I really don't want to talk about this, but I think it has to be talked about. Seriously, I'm not kidding. At this point, detective, assistant commissioner, deputy commissioner, deputy mayor, how much money in clothing alone do you think taxpayers spent on Kaz Daughtry's highly embroidered clothing? Because I'm going to say right now it's over 6 figures. I'm guessing it's over 6 figures.
Way more.
I think it's damn close to it.
Each rank.
It's probably a million.
Each way up. It's every.
At least a couple
It's
thousand.
probably $1 million with his units.
I think it's a million, honestly.
It's probably 7 figures with his units. Like, what? Do you think I'm off with that?
No. I think it's insane. I mean, we saw it with along with former Commissioner Caban, all the different uniforms that they had. I mean, one time, remember, John, we were talking about it, that when there was a press conference, that the entire dais, they all had different uniforms. And then the following day, if there was a press conference, each person had a different uniform from the day prior. So, yeah, I definitely think it's 7 million. There's no doubt. Now, normally I don't read comments from Juju, but this one is hilarious. This has to be read. Shout out to you, Juju. We appreciate this one. In some ways, you're kind of right. Thank you, by the way. Criminal enterprise, that keeps your little podcast in business. Let's have it right. Outstanding. We appreciate it. Eric Adams, 4 more years. Thank you very much. The podcast.
He's got another one. He said this just now. He says, you know you're doing good when 4 out-of-state ex-cops are hating on you. I don't hate on you, dude. I don't know who you are. I could care less, but I think you're a clown, actually. You think you're relevant. I don't know what to tell you. You're a clown. You're a jester for the rest of the room here. But continue your ride.
Listen, Juju's one of the most loyal viewers we have here. So
number one fan.
We thank you for viewing and hating it every day, Juju.
Hey, if Kaz Daughtry's watching, send Juju one of your embroidered shirts or whatever, because you should actually sell them. You can get some of that money that you stole from the taxpayers for, give it back to them by selling it.
I heard after each wear he autographs them and he gives them out. Like, I
want a coin. I want a challenge coin from Juju. Shout out to Patrick Donahue, $4.99 coffee and donuts. Easy gift cards for John, Marlon, and Eric to sprite up the backgrounds for their all-in podcast broadcasteria. Yes, thank you so much. Speaking of Patrick Donahue, he was here Wednesday. Outstanding interview, outstanding show. Patrick Donahue, real charisma, great character. Talks about his experience in the NYPD, being a union member, also growing up in Woodlawn. If you haven't seen it yet, it's recorded. It's on YouTube. Check it out. Great interview. Patrick Donahue, a great friend to the podcast. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And Patrick Donahue was slandered today, too. He was slandered also.
Donahue says that he would volunteer to work for John and Eric and IAB as a retiree if the entity was reorganized. I'm down to do it for free, Pat. I don't even need a salary. Let's do it. I am so sick of what I'm seeing. It's disgusting. And Juju, unlike you, I own a house in New York City. Marlon owns a house in New York City. We pay taxes in New York City. You just go into the city and take from it, right? So we have more of a right, more of a claim to talk to it. And again, 40, I'm sorry, 20, 40, wait, 40, 80, 120, 160, 160 years of experience in New York City. Juju has about 7 years from when he joined the NYPD the first time he walked in. He's like, yeah, this is what New York City looks like. I only ride the subway with my gun. And then with a partner.
You know,
This is the big picture right here. Yeah.
I need a partner to ride. We just went up on Instagram too. Those of you on Instagram, we cannot see your comments. We only see you in YouTube, X, LinkedIn, Rumble. We don't see for whatever reason. So if you guys comment on Instagram, we don't see it. So go over to YouTube if you want.
yeah.
If you want us to read out your comments. So all right. So anything else on this that any sexual harassment complaints now go directly to the PC?
Well, if I may, John, just about the outside agencies, I'm like, which outside agency, really? Where are you gonna go? I mean, look, the
That's a great point,
you
Marlon.
know, Eric Adams is apparently there's some deal with the feds. You know, I mean, there's some sort of cooperation. You know, who you gonna go to? You're gonna go to the state. I mean, Kathy Hochul, who's not removing Eric Adams right now, who, if anything, would depend upon Eric Adams to help clean up the subway so the MTA can continue getting those federal funds from Department of Transportation. Who are you going to go to? DOI? The same DOI that sidelined Detectives Seidman and Vidot, who was on the track to look into the Consofrito crew. And he was, some phone calls were made to Philip Banks and the same power structure that's in place right now. And look what happened to them. So who you going to go to? Really?
I mean, dude, honestly, it's a great point. And, one other topic I wasn't going to talk about, but I think we got to bring it up. So, like, New York City so captured, like, all of a sudden, Eric Adams, like, the MAGA mayor. He's the MAGA mayor. Like, Donald Trump said he's great, and Benny Johnson told you he's great, and he's helping save America, so he's great, right? So, yesterday, I put out Eric Adams' plan to allow non-citizens to vote in New York City elections was shot down, and immediately the right comes at me. It wasn't Eric Adams' plan. It was city council. It wasn't Eric Adams' plan. He had nothing to do with it. I read every article, especially a New York Post article. I read your article. And what did I see? Eric Adams' name was not mentioned one time. Was not mentioned one time, even though he campaigned with Adonis Rodriguez over and over again while he was running against Curtis Sliwa and said that, in fact, he believes non-citizens should vote in New York City elections. Even though after the New York City Council bill got shot down and found unconstitutional, what did Eric Adams do? He instructed his corporation counsel to appeal it. Whose name is the first person listed on that lawsuit? Eric Adams. Right? Because he was the one that appealed the decision because he wanted to allow non-citizens to vote in New York City elections, even though Benny Johnson told you he's MAGA. Right? So I guess this is MAGA now. I guess this is what DC Drano and all these other guys with little small shoulders tell you tell you what's MAGA and what's not. So if you're MAGA now, you support illegals voting in New York City elections. You support New York City re-upping a $1.2 billion deal to oversee that New York City houses illegal immigrants. And they could do it for another 3 years. So that's another $1.2 billion each year for 4 years. Do the math, people. And he already spent over $7 billion. And yet completely the feds are on board with this, right? Obviously, the Trump administration's on board with this. They're on board with this. This is the MAGA guy. But here his name is, top of the chart. He lost his appeal yesterday. And I'm going to say it again. Eric Adams lost his appeal. That's what the New York City Post, that's what the New York Post article should have wrote. Eric Adams lost his appeal to allow non-citizens to vote in elections. But instead, everyone else's name was mentioned except Eric Adams. So you're right. You're right, Marlon. Where do you go? I don't know.
You know something, John? This morning on Sid and Friends in the Morning, he had Nicole Malitakis on, and she mentioned this, and she tried to gloss over Eric Adams' name. So Sid tells her, no. it was Eric Adams on that. She goes, well, no, it was Bill de Blasio, and then he didn't sign anything because he left it on. So they're making, listen, these guys are really pathetic. Here's the bottom line. And I hate to say this, but I'm going to tell you this. There's something going on with the woman rink and that golf course in the Bronx. Trump organization wants their name back on it. This is clearly a quid pro quo. I don't know. Look, I'm going to call it balls and strikes the way they are, no matter how close I am to the king. I'm not a sycophant. I don't bow to any man. I only bow to God. So there's a problem here because they want their name back on the woman rink and they want the Trump name back on this golf course. The problem is with all the, when you bid, and now it also seems that Andrew Cuomo is trying to keep his distance from saying bad things about Trump, which is just really sick what's going on. You can't have the name back on the rink because, unfortunately, there was a conviction in the courtroom, whether it's a scam or not, on the Trump organization. Therefore, now they have a criminal conviction, and they can no longer just put their name for a city park or a city. So they can't even put their name back on a woman rink or the golf course. So if the whole ploy was for that, and I heard Eric Trump, oh, Eric Adams was great to my family and Bill de Blasio wasn't, because it's all about your stupid name on the rink. Get over it. You could fight this in court. It'll take a couple of years. It'll be a different mayor. You might get there, but there's steps and there's checks and balances. And just because your name is Trump doesn't mean you can bully your way through things. I'm sorry. I've seen this tactic in the past. He did this in Atlantic City. That didn't go too well either. So I don't know what they're doing, but they're propping this guy up. I've said it over and over again. I've broken down the actual indictment. Then I broke down how Judge Ho is handling this. I've had Serena Townsend on. I had Eric Sanders on. And there's going to be more. And yesterday I was on with our friend Jason Goodman, Crowdsource the Truth. We were breaking down this stuff. This is going to go on and on and on. That case is going to get dropped. But unfortunately, they're going to drag this on and make a spectacle out of it because the judge, no matter how you feel about him, Judge Ho, he's representing the system. You had 7 prosecutors quit because of that. So he's saying they're all making a stand saying they have integrity to leave. They could have just went along with it. They had integrity. It is disgraceful that Trump's Justice Department is sticking up for this guy, though. That I have a problem with. And I think, Marlon, you're right. Who do you go to in New York City? You don't have anywhere to go other than the media.
I think Marlon nailed it here, right? What Marlon described is the power structure and the dynamics of the politics in New York City, which is why John and I have said a long time ago that the politics need to change, right? The commissioner really needs to be a sheriff. It needs to be an elected official because the power structure and the dynamics of the politics being counties that incorporate a city really give too much power to the mayor. And you're right, Marlon. It's just a complete boomerang and it comes right back. So ultimately, shows you why they have no fear and why this administration has been able to succeed as a criminal enterprise because it just comes right back. So the only chance I think we have at a separate entity for internal affairs would be a bunch of retired guys. Like John said, I'll do it for free also. Me, John, Sal, Marlon, you know what? Patrick Donahue, we'll be your internal affairs because we're not in debt to the city. We have a pension. That's not going anywhere. We don't owe anybody any favors.
Well,
so
I wouldn't say it's not going anywhere. I wouldn't say.
Well, not yet. That's true. We did talk about that.
Kathy, yeah, that's another topic. Kathy Holtshaw wants to take a few billion out of it,
Yes.
but don't worry, they're going to pay you back in 2044.
Yeah, with another variable supplement, I'm sure.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, 2044, they're going to pay you back. Definitely not with another variable supplement because these unions cannot negotiate shit. So, and that's a good segue into the next topic. SBA, right? SBA. Ton of stuff 2 nights ago. Oh, you guys hearing the rumors? SBA said Adams is settling the contract. I'm like, I didn't hear that. I heard from the SBA that. I heard from people in the sergeant, but I didn't hear that from anybody in City Hall. I didn't hear that at all. I heard you guys are going to have to give up some stuff. Right? And sure enough, 11th hour, right when before they're supposed to settle the contract, City comes out and says sergeants have to do 12-hour tours. SBA doesn't want to sign off on the 12-hour tours. Other than that, I think they had to give back like 5-minute wash-up time on it. But it just shows, like, Adams said in his State of the Union address he was gonna settle the contract, but it's not gonna be done without you having to give back some stuff, and that's what it is. They're gonna change your tours. So I mean, the pay is significant. The pay is significant. I think it's about 15% if I'm wrong. Something like that, or all in total. So again, sergeants have been without contract for a long time now. What do you guys think about the 12-hour tours and sergeants not wanting to do them? The complaint from the cops is this, that are doing the 12-hour tours. And I'm hearing the rumor jobs going 12-hour tours citywide soon. Like, it doesn't matter. SBA might as well just sign the contract. They just don't want to agree to it so that they can't arbitrate it later or fight it later. So obviously we see the 12-hour tours are implemented. It didn't do anything. They settled the contract. There was a slight temporary slowdown in the amount of cops that were leaving. And then boom, it picked up just like we predicted it would. So the contract did nothing. The extra money did nothing to retain and recruit new officers. It did absolutely nothing. Same true on the other thing. Same true in the other ranks. So SBA now wants to settle this contract. Again, it's going to do nothing to stop the exodus. The money's great. Everyone that's leaving still leaving because it's not about money. It's about people being treated like cattle. People are done getting branded and treated like cattle. So the complaint from the cops is this: 12-hour tours are great, but not when I'm still being ordered overtime on all my RDOs, and now I'm being ordered 12-hour tours instead of 8.5-hour tours. So, and that's what's happening is they're not able to properly fill these details and staff what needs to be staffed. So the 12-hour tours is an illusion. You're actually not home more. You're at work more. And it's actually worse. And so I think that's why the SBA is seeing the failure in it. And they're saying, we don't want to go into this chart because it's a failed chart. And just so you guys know, a great book, First 50 Years of the NYPD. Highly recommend you guys read it. When you read the first 50 years, cop charts were the #1 issue for New York City mayors. That's how they got elected. They would say, all right, I'm going to get cops in this chart. Oh, no, I'm going to get cops in that chart. And they would pander to the cops. You guys don't have that clout anymore because, like your commissioners, like your chiefs, none of you live in New York City and you can't vote in local elections. So the politicians don't give a shit about you, and the mayor doesn't give a shit about you, and the police commissioner doesn't give a shit about you, right? And that's what happened. So that's how big cops charts were. Now you're being told what you're going to do. You don't have anything. What Trump tells Zelensky, you don't have any cards. What he tells Zelensky at the table, you don't have anything. Same thing for you guys. You guys don't have anything. Same thing for your union. So it is what it is. Like, the job's going on 12-hour tours. That's what's going to happen. I'm not saying you should sign off on it or not, but I think the money's been there long enough. And all the guys that got screwed, you're not getting the back pay. I told you that 3 years ago. I'm going to tell you that again. It's not happening. You're not going to get it by way of your union. You'd have to go out on your own.
Well, I got to tell you, from my point of view, in my opinion, I don't understand why they've been fighting this whole 12-hour tour thing. Because right now, because of the staffing crisis as it is, because of mass exodus, because of the retention rate and attrition problem with the NYPD, it doesn't matter if you had a 12-hour tour, if you had 15-hour tours or 9-hour tours. You're not going home and you're not getting days off no matter what. So you might as well, why even fight this? You might as well just get the 12-hour tours. At least when you're working and coming back, you're guaranteed a 12-hour tour of overtime. It doesn't make a difference. Honestly, I don't care if it's an 8-hour tour, 15-hour tour right now, 20-hour tour. You're not going home and you're not getting days off because it's such an egregious amount of a mass exodus, staffing crisis. It's hemorrhaging, so it doesn't even matter at this point. It doesn't make a difference. Right now, the tour for sergeant, for the overwhelming majority, unless you're a public safety or quasi anti-crime sergeant, 8 hours and 57 minutes. That's 3 minutes shy of 9 hours. It's really 9 hours. So and right now with the staffing crisis, I'm sure most sergeants are doing 12 hours anyway. So I don't think it makes a difference at all. I just think this is complete semantics. I don't even, I think this is an opportunity for Vinny Vallalong to put on a show, make like he's fighting. This is happening no matter what. It makes zero difference right now with a staffing crisis. It doesn't matter if you had 20-hour tours. That's the way I see it. Tom Joyce, shout out to you, brother. Great man. $20 coffee and donuts. Said, keep it up, gents. You keep up being a great man also. Thank you so much for the support. Tom texts me quite often. Thank you. I appreciate it, brother.
Listen, I think that the 12-hour tours was inevitable only because the PBA contract said it. They already set the press. That's the direction they wanted to go. The PBA sold everyone out. I know many people took the money because a lot of people were out the door. I don't blame them, but they gave something, and everyone's going to have to give. It's the 12-hour thing it's going to be what it is. And John hit on a point. I saw someone in the comments on my show yesterday. Oh, Rudy Giuliani was the worst, and that we got a $136,000 contract with Eric Adams. So there you go. Take the money, turn a blind eye to all the corruption. And by the way, that $136,000 does nothing because the cost of living is skyrocketed in New York City. So that isn't even enough for you. And you're basically like John said, you're being branded and cattled. So I mean, if that's what you think is good, because it helps your pocket, so be it. But for the majority of everyone else, they're not happy. And again, 12-hour tours, it is what it is. That we're going to do that anyway. Whatever direction the city wants, because all the unions are not together and they all want to hang out, especially union heads want to hang out with mob associates and smoke cigars and take pictures and videos of that. That's where their concern is. They want to be part of the structure, not for their members who don't do that, majority of them. So it is what it is now. If the SBA, whether he's just grandstanding right now, because they're going to have to settle this one way or the other, and they're going to be doing 12-hour tours. So, whether you accept it today or tomorrow, it's going to happen. So I think, like John says, I think they should just say, okay, wait a week and just say, what are you going to do? Because you can't fight the 12-hour tours.
Yeah. I remember years ago saying that the 12-hour tours was a bad idea because I knew the department was going to give the cops mandatory overtime on their days off anyway. So you've already lost the benefits that they were supposed to get from the 12-hour tours. But it's not about the money, because if you talk to those cops who've gone to Florida or Texas, they're on paper they're making a lot less than they are in the NYPD, but their quality of life is a whole lot better, and they're in areas that are the cost of living are significantly lower in many ways. So it's not about the money; it's about the quality of life. And until the job realizes that, and until the unions actually start fighting that, instead of going on these bogus, going on about these pipe dreams about bringing back 20-year pension or getting more money, thinking that more money is gonna fill the seats in the academy, until they start realizing it's about quality of life, none of it matters. It's about quality of life, and things are coming to a point where guys realize, what am I working for if I'm not home? I'm not seeing my family. Yeah, I'm making all this money, but I mean, the money's getting taken away in taxes, but I'm never home. I talked to so many guys who are like, they're never home, and guys who told me before that they were going to stay past 20 years are now looking at leaving at 20 years because of that. Because they don't see their kids grow up, it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. And it's a huge problem for society too. If your kid if you're not raising your kid, tangent, if you're not raising your kid, that kid, is going to get themselves in trouble because of the absence of your parent in their lives, So the job has to wake up and realize that. But like I said before, last go around, all these problems come back to manpower. You need more manpower. Okay.
Dude, it's so true. I think it all relates down to the manpower. I think the 12-hour tours is a big deal. I kind of applaud the SBA for actually fighting back at it, because I think it's gonna speed the exodus up. I'm telling you right now, because what Marlon's saying dead on. The two biggest pieces of shit that I grew up with, I thought their parents were crackheads. Their father was a 3-star chief. I'm like, wait, what? I was like, what are you talking about? I thought that they were growing up in a crack house. They're growing up in a 3-star chief's house. And when I got to the job, everybody loved the guy. And I'm like,
I know you're talking about.
And I was like, everybody loved the guy. And I'm like, oh, he's never home. He puts the job before he puts his family. His kids ran wild. I literally, I'm not kidding. I thought they grew up in a crack house, and they grew up in a home of a 3-star chief. So, and just think about how grueling the job was doing 857 as a sergeant, right? Because we didn't do 835. I was a sergeant the majority of my career, did 857. That is a long time away. And then you're doing overtime every day. Now before you even hit overtime, you're at 12-hour tours. Then they're gonna hold you for the overtime. Like it's a big deal. The job's in a death spiral right now. And so they're doing anything to prop it up, to hold on. And what they're doing is, I'm telling you, they're going to get rid of the test. They're going to have to. They're not going to have supervisors. You're not going to ever get to that 5 years to get to the sergeant. They're just going to start doing, all right, you're a sergeant, you're a sergeant, you're a sergeant. And you're going to have a bunch of Kaz Daughtry's running around that have no idea what the hell they're doing. And that's basically what's going to happen if they continue in this manner. We've given the solutions. Nobody seems to care. There isn't a thing to take them. It's just, again, it's a big grift. So, and then just to highlight how bad the job is, this video comes out. Somebody sends me this video. I don't know who it was, but whoever sent it, thanks. Oh, I know who sent it. Thank you. So they sent the video. I didn't really know where it was from, but I got to watch it later on, and I was like, what the hell is this? So then I come to find out, I learned the story. The story is 2 rookies are transporting a murder suspect from a precinct down to Bronx criminal court, right? So when you do that, right? When you do that, you traditionally would handcuff all of the perps, handcuff all the perps separately with handcuffs on, then daisy chain them, then put leg shackles on them. Then what you do in the NYPD is, if you're not in a cage car, one cop would sit in the back with the perp. If you're in a van, one cop sits in the back with the perps and sits behind the perps so he could see the perps. And you know, like if possible, but manpower is not there. If possible, I would actually send a third cop to transport with them when there's more than 1 or 2 prisoners, right? You would try to send an additional cop to avoid this. So,
John, don't forget you have to also put the seatbelt on so they don't fall out,
and then seatbelt them, and they would obviously be rear cuffed.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that there's things in place, controls in place, so this doesn't happen? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Traditionally, and so what would happen is the desk officer would observe this, and I've done it myself. I mean, I was never the desk officer much, but even if I was standing at the desk and I observed people walking with their hands in their pocket, and like you get a guy just on a daisy chain or whatever, I'm like, what are you doing? Go back, put him back in the cell. Put them in handcuffs, come out and hold them. Don't put salad tongs. We don't have salad tongs to hold the perps. You hold them with your hand, you know. So what would happen is they'd come in front of the desk. The desk would make sure they have leg shackles on. If there are no leg shackles available, you would make an entry. But if there are no leg shackles available, you would ensure that the transport was being done properly, that there was enough people to contain the prisoners. I mean, this should be your biggest fear as an escaped prisoner. And who's more than likely to want to escape than a murder suspect? I think that if you're probably going to go away, you think you're going to go away for a long time, more than likely you're going to try to run. I've seen guys run for smoking weed. They weren't even going to get in trouble. They went from they got an ACD to now they're getting a felony escape charge. You know, I'm like, you never know, but like you got a murder suspect. This should be the height of you sitting here and being hyper focused on that nobody's escaping. So 2 rookies driving in the van, both seated in the front seat, 3 perps in the back seat. I'm hoping that the prisoner was able to take his arms from behind him and flip his legs through, which I've seen people do it. I used to say, I'll get you a meal if you could show me how to do it. You know, and I've seen many people that were able to do it, go from being rear cuffed to slip their arms and their legs underneath them and go front cuff. I'm hoping that's what happened. And even that is horrible because it could easily turn around, choke the cop with the handcuffs. Still horrible, but it's more acceptable than that if these guys were actually front cuffed. I don't know what happened. But yeah, so this video comes out. Let's take a look at this video and let's get your thoughts. This is coming out. They're being transported down. Cops are driving, 3 perps in the van. Now there's only 2 perps in the van. How he got out, I have no idea. How they don't realize that he's out, I have no idea. But look, you can clearly see his hands are in front of him. He gets his shoe back on. Still no van here. He looks around and he runs off. Do you see the van? I don't see the van. Nope, no van. Run, 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 run. I have no idea when these cops realized that he was gone. Obviously, he had to open the door to get out. Here's the video still playing. We're at 40 seconds. No van comes back.
Is this a 12-hour tour?
I mean, it started out as a 12-hour tour, and now it's going to end up into at least a 30-day and a year hit, if not termination, that both of these rookies are on probation. And I'm sitting here and I'm saying, look, no van. Now we're at a minute.
That's a long time. That's eternity.
No van. They still have not realized it.
That is an eternity in the police world. That's a long time.
Here they come. Here they come. A minute and 8. So 40-something seconds. Now they realize he's gone. Now they come back.
That's a long time. I mean, think about how far you get in a minute anywhere, especially in the city. It's especially when your heart is racing, you don't want to go to jail. A minute, you can make it pretty damn far. Crazy 10-7 says here, you can't daisy chain anymore. That's news to me. I didn't even know that. Is that something the patrol guide? Crazy 10.
I don't. First of all, I don't think that's accurate.
I never heard that. But that's why I'm asking Crazy 10-7 if there's actually literature, if that's in the patrol guide or some type of interim order, if you could put it, post it here, or send it to us, let us know. I never heard that. I mean, I was always under the impression. I mean, and it was actually the patrol guide to daisy chain and put them in the van, and you could put up to 7 in the van. So I never heard that. That must be some type of unwritten rule. I don't know. That's news to me.
And FYI, I would still have them rear cuffed in the daisy chain because
absolutely
the daisy chain's more. I'd rather them handcuffed separately, rear cuffed, than in a daisy chain with one arm free.
And I agree with you. If you're transporting you're transporting someone wanted for homicide in a van, not in an RMP, which is a radio motor patrol car for our outside law enforcement agencies or police enthusiasts. If you're in a marked car with a petition, you could have them just cuffed. But in a van, I would definitely have them leg shackled because they're a flight risk. There's no doubt about it. They're wanted for homicide. They potentially could go to jail for a long period of time, if possible, maybe their entire life. So you definitely want to have them leg shackled. They are 100% a flight risk. I mean, but again, where are they? And we know where they are. They don't exist anymore. There's no veteran cops that teach these young rookies who are now going to lose their job, most likely, because they're on probation, on how to properly do police work. I feel sorry for them. It's an epic fail. But
I can't figure out. I see marks on the ground. Did this guy get out from the back of the van or the door that slides and he jumped? Because he bounces off the ground. So either way, as you would hear this door, watch. Where did he come from? The back or the side?
The side door. It looks like the side door.
Okay, so the side.
And that's another fail because the whole you can't unlock those doors. The doors can only be unlocked by the operator. So which means they didn't lock the door.
and they have to be sitting both up front because you have to be.
Think about the effort also, right? Because he had to, as he's rear cuffed, he had to get to the sliding portion of the door and actually pull it, which makes a lot of noise. So kind of wonder, did they have the radio on, the music on? Because how did they not make that observation to see that and hear the door? So there's a lot of things that were missed here. This is an epic fail. There's no one to teach these guys. I would assume they probably had the radio on. I would put my money on it.
And he is not seatbelted. If he's seatbelted in, it's going to be even hard for him to get his, try to do that whole trick of putting it's hard to do that in seatbelt. So the cops clearly, unfortunately, if they don't get 30 in a year or face termination for this, this clearly they didn't do what they're supposed to do.
Which bench in the van was he seated? Because when you only have one arrestee in a van, they don't go in the first bench. The first bench is supposed to be Remember, the first bench is supposed to be the cop. The
Yep.
second bench, you put the perpetrators, because it positions them far from where the door is to actually get that door open. The first bench should always be the cop. Clearly, there was no one in that first bench, and the second bench would be the perpetrator. So I kind of wonder, maybe the perpetrator was actually placed in the first bench. He would have more access to get out of that, to get that door open.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, but like there should have been if there was somebody on the first bench, there should have been a cop behind them. You know what I mean? Like, so at least you could observe,
The point is, there's a lot of layers missed.
There's a
But
ton of layers missed.
You know that door, the sliding door, remember, has that, you have to have that handle. So he has to actually almost bump into the front, the very front of the van to turn around, do this, or even handcuffed. You would hear this thing jiggle because it makes a noise, it slides, and it opens. And what's also incredible here, guys, is this guy falls out of a moving vehicle and still puts his shoe on. No limbs broken, nothing. That's incredible. If it's you or I would break a finger open the door, this guy's he's running after running out of a goddamn moving van that would probably kill the normal person. This is incredible.
I think he's hurting today. I think that was all adrenaline. I mean, his life is on the line. Like, I gotta get the hell out of here. I'm sure today he was probably hurting because we all have been there. At least I've been there, where you fight with someone who's on PCP. And I mean, I had a guy one time fighting so hard, and I said, "Man, he's got to be. How is this guy taking these shots?" I'm sure the next day he must have been hurting because, when your adrenaline's up and that your mindset is there, especially who knows what kind of substance he might be hopped on. Because I said fight with someone with PCP. I'm sure you all been there. Whew, they give you the fight of your life. So.
This is just complacency in my book. I don't know how you can't decipher a door opening. You don't hear somebody ruffling behind you. I mean, this was the thing I was always worried about, and it never even came close to happening for a reason. And you have to always be aware of your surroundings. But again, they're rookies, and I don't know how you send two rookies on a transport. You always have a veteran and a rookie for a reason. So that's another thing you could ask. There's a lot of questions here, and there's going to be very few answers other than you have an escaped prisoner, and now what do you do? Because some heads are going to roll.
Yeah. So that everyone's saying it's not a sliding door; it's the double door. It's the vans with the double doors. Either way, it doesn't matter. Slider, not a slider, double door. How did it open without people realizing? Someone saying the interior light, but you could shut that off.
Yeah.
You could shut that off manually, so that might not have went off. But I mean, the layers here missed are just, again. How many police videos have we shown you where cops are playing patty cake, where the tactics are horrible? I'm not even blaming these rookies. Who the hell was the desk officer? Who trained them? Who trained them? Who's the desk officer? Where are they being held accountable? Where are they being supervised? Like, where are they being supervised? How are they being supervised? Again, what do I say? You're a supervisor. Your job is to protect cops from themselves. You walk out and you're lazy and you're lax and you don't think anybody's going to run and you're like, yeah, do my chance, blah, 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 blah. No, I'm going to remind you. That's my job, is to remind you. This guy wants to run. This guy wants to get away. Your career's going to be over. You got 6 months on the job, idiot. You want to lose your career? You want to have a long career in the NYPD? You're not going to have one when you're acting like this. How many steps were missed? You're on the desk. I don't care what's going on. I don't care if the chief's screaming at you. They're bringing the transport out to you. Bring them back. When he's gone, we'll do this. Then when they come out, you go out. You manually inspect the cuffs. You make sure that they're double locked. You make sure that they have their leg shackles on. If there's no leg shackles available, send another cop with them. You walk them out to the van. You make sure all these things can't happen. You make sure that there is a cop sitting in the back with these perps. This never happens if not for the supervision. This never happens if not for the training and the lackadaisical training. Oh, we just want everybody to feel good about themselves. No. Bring back getting screamed at in the academy. Bring back Officer Lack. Bring back these people that talked down to you and showed you what type of idiot you were and how easily you could get killed or lose your job. Because listen, we all got to be trained. We all got to be. We didn't know these things. You don't come on the job knowing these things. You get trained. You fall into a system. You have supervisors that protect you from yourself. But now we have supervisors who were never supervised, and they can't protect you because they can't even protect themselves.
Here's a great question from Logic's Finest. Good morning. Great friend to the podcast here. Does this happen to the NYPD a lot? Do prisoners escape now and again, or is this just a freak occurrence? Great question. I think that this is something, just to piggyback off what John's saying, this is something that's kind of 101, that you always make sure you have custody control of a perpetrator, a person of interest, especially an arrestee, in movement. Movement is so important. We talk about logistics in the police department, any law enforcement agency. Logistics and movement are so important, and that's what John's talking about. You put everything aside. I agree with John 100%. I didn't do the desk much in my career, but if I did, I don't care who's coming in. It could be the police commissioner, mayor. When you're working with prisoners, it's so important, right? What do you learn when you make sergeant? Prisoners, property, and the other P that could get you in trouble, right? That's so important that you stay on top of those things. So I agree. No matter what, does it happen? Yes. I don't think it happens often, but it's a big deal when it happens because there's a lot of things. These things just don't happen by accident. There's legitimate mistakes that happen for this to occur.
It happens often, dude.
Yeah.
What do you consider often? What do you consider often? That's a good.
Like once a month, this happens, though.
No way. This happens a few times a week. Once a month. This happens a few times a week. It don't make the news once a month.
Right. What do you consider losing a perpetrator? I mean, if you have a guy stopped on a scene, he's getting cuffed, and he runs.
I consider you put somebody in handcuffs and you say they're under arrest. That's a lost prisoner. I mean, that's a lost prisoner. And so, someone at the scene that committed a crime and they take off on you, that's not a lost prisoner.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I would always.
Traditionally, I think the department's pretty good with that. If you show up at a scene and you handcuff someone and you put the under on, now you have a prisoner, right? I mean, they're your responsibility.
That's why I always told my cops, no one's under until they're in the car, doors are shut and locked. Before that,
today with the cameras and all that's another. You can't today with the cameras and all that. You have to. You put handcuffs on somebody, they're under. That's it. It's on. Like, you better not lose them. You better hold their arms, handcuff, rear cuff.
No, you're right.
You're right. Hold them like they're your career because they are.
Yeah.
Well, great question. Great question.
When I see that video, what really gets me though is the supervisory failure on this. Yeah. Where's the leg shackles? Yeah. If you don't have leg shackles in the command, why isn't the CO like calling up supplies or whichever unit and getting those leg shackles in there?
Because he's too busy fudging numbers, Marlon. He doesn't know what's priorities.
Yeah, but that's not even on the CO, in my opinion. Honestly, like you're right. He probably is too busy fudging the numbers. You're a desk sergeant and you go one tour without leg shackles, and then you come back the next day and there's no leg shackles again. And you're like, where the hell are the leg shackles? Oh, these ones took it, or Narco took. All right, call quartermaster. You're a boss. Do what you got to do. Like, hey, and make an entry. I call quartermaster. I wanted this. Come in the next day. You make another entry. What are you doing that day? You're the desk officer. Make 1 million entries.
Yeah, I agree.
I used to love that. No one wanted to make the entries. Some old timer. He's like, what do you think those entries are going to save you, kid? Nah, but what the hell else am I doing?
No,
I notify. We don't have enough cars, boss. Like it's.
But John, you got to be a boss. You got to be a boss. Say, hey, I'm the desk officer. We need shackles. I don't have a hospitalized prison, and I don't have shackles here. Where are they?
Yeah,
we get it. As you say to Marine Corps, well, you know what? Ship me a pair right now. You better get one. Better figure it out.
Oh, you guys have 5,000 in a box collecting dust. I think you could send us one. I'll send somebody to come get it. How about that?
Well, you need more than one pair too. I think each command should have more than one pair of leg shackles, just for the situation. What if you have 5 guys at once? So, when I worked, if somebody took those leg shackles, we used to either get the neighboring command to borrow them, or we would have, call the guys that took them. You better bring them back right away. Like when you're done with this perp and you took them to central booking, come back here, bring the leg shackles here, and then go back to your command. Like these are the things that I guess the old timers had this kind of system in place. And now it's like really like, you have two rookies. The first mistake, two rookies on a transport never happens. That's why sometimes we had 3 cops. So the 2 rookies would go with a veteran and the veteran would watch the rookies how they handle themselves or teach them. Like these are things, I guess, they're like it's a misfire now because under Eric Adams and Bill de Blasio, just take a look at who they were hiring. Take a look at that as well.
Interesting enough, the executive perspective, they just put on a hell of a show. It was an awesome show, by the way, where they gave their perspective on body cameras. John and I had given we did a podcast about 2 years ago on body cameras. And for the most part, I'm not in favor of body cameras for the most part. Only when it comes to something egregious, right? Because minor incidents, I think there's too much room to play and use it against the police officers. But it is incidents like this that the body cameras would be good to actually go back to see what happened, to see what failures actually happened so it doesn't happen again. So this is one of those times where I think the body camera would be good.
I just got to say, like with the way the department is right now and people are afraid to speak up, I mean, if the rookies knew that they needed leg shackles, are they going to tell the boss? Is the desk going to tell the platoon commander? Is the platoon commander going to, if he can't get it, is he going to tell the CO, listen, we need to pull some rank here or get this stuff done? Is anybody going to speak up? I'm not so sure anymore. But you young guys who are watching this right now, I'm telling you, from experience, I've had like a lot of guys try to kick out a window or try to get away, From experience, I'm telling you, if you get that prisoner transport, you better get some leg shackles because that's going to be your career when that perp is running down the block. It's your career. So you better speak up.
Marlon, you're 100% right, but that's why it's so important to have the veteran cops. The veteran cops have the ear to the supervisors, right? So where the rookie cop might be timid and meek to speak to the supervisor, but it's that veteran cop that's going to speak to the sergeant, take care of, shout out to Mike Friedman, a former detective. He was a senior guy at the 120 precinct. I remember Mike Friedman was the guy he would go speak to. Before he didn't go to the sergeant, he used to go to Mike. I remember Mike, hey, listen, I need a couple of vouchers. I got a collar here. Mike, and Mike would get it. And that was like, he was the liaison, to Sergeant Nancy Sorigliano at the time. And, because she's busy enough, got her stuff going on. So you would go to Mike, 112. And listen, people love to knock Staten Island. The 112 precinct, John, if you remember, that desk is insane. So shout out to Nancy for holding that desk. That phone never stopped. So, and, shout out to Mike, did a hell of a job. Like, you would go to Mike, like, Mike, this is what I need. And that's what we don't have. We don't have those veteran cops right now that are that line to the supervisor. So you're right. They probably are timid. I mean, like, I'm not going to go ask these shackles. When I was a rookie, I probably wouldn't either. I'll figure it out myself.
Yeah, but what do you mean ask for the shackles? It should be, it's the boss's job.
You're right. You're right.
Shackles. That should be you're doing transport. That's, and then like, if it's not there and you realize it, tell the TS, notify whoever. When you go down to the court section, have the sergeant call me when you get down there. Like that's it. Like, or you call down. Like, listen, we don't have leg shackles. Just put it in the book. You guys have extra leg shackles down there. If you're on the midnight, and if you're on the midnight, send an email. We have email now. Like, you could send an email to the quartermaster. I need leg shackles. I need this. CC your CO. That's it. CO they're not going to know everything. They might not even know. Should have 2 sets of leg shackles at the desk all the time. It ain't hard, like this is easily avoidable. Someone's saying we have 10 escaped prisoners here a year. I don't know. I worked when I was in IAB, dude. I once or twice a week, easy. And that's only on one tour. We would get an escaped prisoner once or twice a week. So I'm saying maybe 10 a year that make the media. Yeah, maybe, but way more frequent than that. Way more frequent than that. I mean, it's 6 in 2 months, 6 that made the media in 2 months. So there's probably about 50, so, in 2 months. So it's a complete breakdown in the NYPD and all the training systemic We talked about it over and over again. You know, in my opinion, Adams is by far the worst mayor in New York City history, but he's hysterical. I mean, the dude's a character. He's a complete disgrace as a mayor. He's a complete disgrace as a human. As a character, he's amazing. I mean, the guy's funny as hell. He's a content generating machine. He just is. Sal posted a video of him the other night, 2 nights ago, went absolutely viral. Complex magazine picked it up. The dude's hysterical. Let's play the video, and then I mean, the dude's he's honestly, it will be a little sad when he's no longer the mayor, because I mean, the guy's pure comedy. He's a complete buffoon, but it's pure comedy. I mean, and unfortunately, the residents in New York City and taxpayers and probably the financial solvency of New York City are all in dire straits because of this moron. But at least we get a good laugh. So here's Eric Adams talking at a town hall.
There's a real history for me. I had a shorty that lived out here. You know, used to come out taking that long A train ride, you know, in the cold. You know, love is blind, and, you know, taking that long A train. I did not have a car. And 1 or 2 times I didn't have a token. So yes, I did jump off with a turnstile. I'm not gonna, it's over. The statute of limitation is over. There's a real history.
There's a real history out there. He had a shorty. He didn't say if the shorty was male or female. I personally don't believe he likes females. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I mean, I just see the closeness he's had with a lot of people who are using pay-to-play schemes, and people who have went to jail for trying to sell access to him. And I believe they had a very, very tight, close relationship, closer than friends. So I don't know what he meant by shorty. I don't know if he was talking about a male or a female, but what do you guys think about that?
So I said, let's make jumping turnstiles great again. Let's roll a nickel bag into 8 joints. Let's call white people crackers. Mayor Eric Adams, he might not be a great mayor, but you know what, Juju, you're right. He is great for this podcast. Thank you, Mayor Eric Adams. I appreciate all the content. There's so much content with Mayor Eric Adams, his administration, the NYPD, that we can't even get to everything. If we got to everything, this podcast would be 4 hours today. So you know what? Thank you, Mayor Eric Adams. You're right, Juju. He is a character. We don't need Saturday Night Live. We got Eric Adams. But did he say shorty or shorty? Shorty?
Love is blind. Statute of limitations. Somebody from the New York Times wrote that about this. This is, you know, look, you start a town hall, which there's concerned citizens there. They have real issues, things that are affecting their lives, and you're there so that they can ask you these questions. And that's the opening line to these people. I had a shorty out here. How serious do you think your, taxpayers and constituents feel about even being there and talking to you? Do you say you are concerned with the citizens' issues? You don't seem serious at all. I don't think this guy really wants to get reelected or even thinks about that. He knows the winds in the sails have shifted, and short of whatever's going on with this woman rink and Trump and Bove and whatever's going on with that, he knows nothing's going to happen to him with that. So he's basically going to do crazy things till December 31st at the end of this year. And this just shows I guess he's trying to cater to the low information voter again. Again, I always say this. His whole base, his whole being is catering to low information voters. These are the people that think that's cool. Oh, I'm going to vote for him because he said shorty. That's not someone who knows the issues. Nothing. That's what he's aiming for. And that's why he said he talks crazy like this. He sounds like he's in the 1970s in Harlem when he says shorty and Negroes. And he thinks this works in 2025. You're really offending a tremendous block of people and voters. Because trust me, when he said this, people got offended because they're saying, who the hell are you talking to like that? Because again, especially if you're African-American, you're saying to yourself, what are we? We're in Harlem in the 70s. That's what people told me, that we're African-American. Like, this guy's nuts. And again, anyone who knows him will tell you that's who he really is. He's actually showing you now who Eric Adams, the Eric Adams we all knew, everyone in the police department knew, this is who he is. This is how he talks. The stuff you heard about yesterday with Eric Umansky, how he dictates, the lawyers, he's telling them, is this the law or is this opinion? This is who he is. He thinks he's right all the time, and he caters to low information voters. That's his base.
Well, what do you think about his turnstile comments? He's waiting for the statute of limitations to expire.
Yeah, it's he's putting on a show, right? Sal is 100% right. Like, Adams tends to tailor his comments to the audience, right?
Well said. Yeah, he panders to his audience. You're 100% right, Marlon.
He's not Trump. Trump does it, but it's different. The guys in there. Eric is not that. Sorry, he's a clown.
I think you froze for a second.
Yeah, all of a sudden the video is starting to break up on my end, right? But anyway, so Adams tends to tailor his speech to his audience. If he's talking to a bunch of Wall Street guys, all of a sudden Adams is like all sophisticated and he's talking finance. He's on the ball. If he's talking to community, this guy is he's a show, right? And if you watch him right now, his movements and his speech are reminiscent of a comedian, a comedian's opening act, right? And this is like this is no different than like Hillary Clinton pulling out the hot sauce or like Obama or Kamala putting on the Southern
hot sauce with me on Hot 97. You remember that? For those of you asking, the perpetrator was apprehended 4 hours later. I forgot we didn't say that.
I'll tell you what, John's right. Remember all the time, like he put a whole thing out with him at the St. Patrick's Day parade and said, "This is the Dublin, Ireland of New York City." Eric Adams. He's right.
He's the Pope of New York City. He's exactly. He is. There's no doubt about it. We've said this before too on prior podcasts, Paul, that Eric Adams is a chameleon. We don't know what he's for or against, but he's for what his audience is for. He panders to his audience. Exactly. When he did his podcast with Corey Pegues, they started to talk like they were back hanging out. If he's with Wall Street people, he'll play the professional game. He's a chameleon. There's no doubt about it. So we don't even know who's the real Eric Adams. Eric Adams just plays the game. He's a political genius. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
Moron.
He's a social genius. He's a social genius.
Yeah, that's true.
You know the scene in Departed when he's like, "You had two accents, didn't you? You little one when you were in Southie and one when you with your rich friends out in wherever." And that's Eric Adams to it.
Yeah.
Too. Like he's a social genius. The guy, he knows how to play people, and that's how he could be four on the same topic. Like he just dodges and weaves. But that's not leadership. And like and Sal, you're 100% right. The people, that's my mayor. I'm moving back to New York City to vote for him. It's like, all right, dude, you don't even know what you're talking about. It's like this dude today is telling you that. The next day he's calling you a Negro. The other day he's getting pat on the head by Tom Holman. And it's like, the dude, it's a joke like that. This isn't leadership. That's not mayors lead. Mayors are rocks. They're solid. They're trees. Mayors lead. They don't dodge and weave, and that's what Eric Adams does. He's like Floyd Mayweather.
Well,
you can't call him.
I guarantee you, though, Eric Adams is getting a late night MSNBC show as soon as he leaves. He's getting that 10 p.m. slot. Yeah,
on SNL or where's it? What do you mean? Or like talk show?
If he doesn't get reelected again, he's getting a 10 o'clock late night MSNBC show.
I think he's going on the most liberal organization there is, the most liberal news organization there is in the country, which is Fox. Yeah. And I think that they'd be more likely to put him on. They'll put him on prime. They'll put him in Tucker spot.
Oh yeah, now he's a Trump guy. He's a MAGA guy, right? Oh, I'll put him on Fox. Maybe he goes. Wait, Newsmax, where John Shell's good friends with, and there's other things going on there. He's always on there.
You never know. You never know. That very well
the taxpayers are just going to fund it right before he leaves office.
Yeah.
Who's and you know what? The taxpayer is funding right now. The taxpayer is funding all their media campaigns as we speak. There's no doubt about it. Eric Adams and this entire upper echelon administration, including Kaz Daughtry and John Shell, that's all paid media by the taxpayer. Yeah. We called it out.
And let's not forget, Adams has that podcast that he does. for the
Oh,
mayor's office.
the Get Stuff Done podcast that he has
Yeah,
like
yeah.
2 episodes. Because
Exactly.
that shows,
showman, all right.
and that shows his work ethic right there. He started a
Well,
podcast 3 years ago. He's done 2 episodes.
There's
There's your work ethic.
Like
You know?
Marlon said before, there's no doubt about it. Like when he was at that town hall, he knows what he was doing. He was like his little story about the shorty, whether it's true or not. He knows what he's doing. He was playing around, like he was having fun with it. He knows. He's like, this is, they're gonna eat this up. He's smart. He plays. He knows.
Nothing he says is true, dude. Nothing.
Yeah, it sounds like bullshit.
Don't believe a word. Everything is a lie.
He's a liar.
Everything.
A liar.
He didn't even go to school in South Jamaica. He went to like a fancy school, like where all the, and then he was that kid. He was moving. He would go on the street, yeah, man, part of the 7 Crowns, and then he would go up, yeah, no, I don't hang out with those kids. That was him.
I'll tell
you were a double kid, weren't you?
Yeah.
Someone in the comments hit this nail on the head here. Special Hagen. When you speak one way around people from your community and then switch it up when you're at work or in professional settings, code switching. It's exactly what he's doing. He speaks one way here, another way there. This is basic like politics 101. If you are trying to just cater to the low information base, then yeah.
Wait, could we just get this little what is it, low testosterone male? Stephen Holmes, who we don't know who he is because he's hiding behind a fake name and a fake photo, says none of you have any work ethic. You're all waiting on lawsuit money. You're no better than ghetto dwellers that I police around the projects. So this is the upper echelon of the NYPD. This is what they think about you, and this is what they think about us. Ghetto dwellers. Okay. All right. So, and as you're hiding behind a fake name with your low testosterone and your disgusting man boobs, you're going to sit there and talk smack from behind a computer screen. So, dude, we see you. We see the smear campaign. It's over and over again. Like we said, Steven, send us an email. We'll have you on the next show. You could come on here. You could air out all your grievances. We could talk about how great your career is, how much you don't like our career. But that is the last acknowledgement you will get on this podcast because you're nobody. You're a loser. And that's what it is. You need that job. Stay on it forever. That's what I recommend to you. And get yourself a Twitter handle and then switch it over and take it with you privately because that's the only way you're going to get a following. And even then you'll lose it the minute you're off the job.
so much for community relations, right? This is what you think of people, right? They're ghetto dwellers, right? That's a true statement because what do we know about this upper echelon that hides behind these fake monikers? What they say in private is who they really are. What they say in public is their gaslighting and their perception management. But that's, Stephen Holmes or AKA John Shell or AKA Kaz Dortch, whoever, I'm sure, whoever you are in the upper echelon, you know who you really are. But that's why I say, listen, this is my rule of thumb. John and I both agree. Sal, Marlon, same thing. We all talked about this. I will not put anything on a keyboard or say anything on this podcast that I'm not willing to say publicly to someone's face. Absolutely not. Can't say the same about you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, last thing before we get out of here, we're going 2 hours, 20 minutes. Something that popped up. I was going through a lawsuit of a cop who's suing for being denied a religious exemption, right? Officer was Christian, legally denied a religious exemption, given absolutely no reason. They had a rookie as his investigator. The rookie had testified that he actually didn't investigate anything. He just signed off on that. And someone else made the decision to deny the religious exemption. And but he didn't know who made the decision. So he perjured himself, signed off on the life of a fellow cop, the thin blue line. It's real thin these days. So I went through this case the other day. A couple of new transcripts were added into it. This was one I found super interesting. So what this is this was an email that was sent to Tanya Meisenholder. So this is sent by a lieutenant. And he's like, look, boss, look what I found on how to deny all these Christians' emails, right? And so he sends this. So Tanya Meisenholder, who was then the Deputy Commissioner of Equity and Inclusion, forwards this. And she says, interesting take on religious exemptions for vaccines. So this is what they based the denial of Christians' religious accommodations for. Oh, and let me just clarify, the lieutenant that sent this, I don't know his name because it's redacted, but the lieutenant that sent this was in charge of the reasonable accommodation unit. right? So he was in charge of giving reasonable accommodation. So he knows the law, or at least he should, even though they all claim that they weren't trained in actually the law, New York State human rights law, or any of that, or Civil Rights Act 1964. So they all claim they weren't trained in it. So this is what they were using. They were using an opinion piece from the New York Times. It's an opinion piece titled, "I'm a former pastor." So he's not even an active pastor, he's former. "And I don't believe in religious exemptions to vaccine mandates." So, and what they quoted here is, "There is no legitimate religious basis for exemptions from vaccine mandates in any established stream of Christianity." So a former pastor's opinion, which is probably the most flawed opinion I've ever seen on the subject, there is no legitimate religious basis for exemptions from vaccine mandates in any established stream of Christianity. So more and more, as I meet people and I meet new people in this sphere, I continuously get asked by Christians or Catholics or people of faith, so godly because I go to church and I wear nice clothes on Sundays and I give money. I give my 2 cents to when they come around with the basket. I keep getting asked it. "Yeah, Mo, where does it say you can't take a vaccine?" And I'm like, "Nah, it doesn't say that anywhere." I was like, "But it says clearly, like, you shouldn't be a coward." So when you're completely getting lied to, and they're telling you to go along with the lie, and they're telling you to push the lie on other people, that clearly goes against our faith. When they're telling you to violate your conscience, that clearly goes against our faith. So it doesn't say anywhere, well, it says a lot not to be a coward and don't be afraid, and that cowards actually go before murderers and rapists in the lake of fire, right? It actually says all that stuff. But really what it's saying is, don't be a pussy. That's what it's telling you. Don't be a pussy. Don't take a knee, right? Don't bend your faith or your beliefs or your morals. And that's what it's saying. And so what this article said, this opinion piece, is what the NYPD used to blanket deny Christians in the NYPD, saying that there is no legitimate religious reasoning in any form of Christianity. And honestly, there's about 30,000 legitimate reasons as you could object to anything in life whatsoever. So it's so highly flawed, but that's what they used. That's what they used in the diversity, equity, inclusion. Completely fine to discriminate against Christians in the NYPD. They did it. They're getting away with it to this point. It's completely disgusting. And honestly, this is why I call Cardinal Dolan out. This is why I call all the faith leaders in the NYPD out. This is why I call out all the religious organizations in the NYPD, because this is a slap in the face to all of us. And you're all sitting there on your knees, not saying a word, shaking Eric Adams' hands and hanging out with these people taking pictures. You're an absolute disgrace. You're worse than them.
This sounds like they were given a mandate, like Meisenholder was given a mandate, and they started looking for their excuses to refuse people's religious accommodations. And it's the entire process was a sham and bogus. And you know, every day we're seeing more and more evidence that points to how bogus it was. And in fact, how angry everyone on the job should be, because like I've said before, it's not just like our fight. It's your fight too, because you all took it. If you were all forced to take it, and that should not have happened. So there should be more outcry in the job right now, especially to you guys who are still working there right now. It's like some of you have totally forgotten what's happened. You know, you're ready to jump in a picture with Adams, and you're ready to hug them and whatnot.
Short-term memories.
Yeah. And it's like you have Stockholm syndrome. Okay.
Yeah.
You can wake up. Okay, because it's not only us; it's you who are the victims of this, and you got to speak up. And you two unions, it's you don't need to call and you don't need to ask me, okay, what the issue is. Okay, You know what the issue is. You all know what you have to do right now. Okay. And I'm saying this specifically because Scott Monroe, God bless him, he's reached out to me and he's talking to me. And that's a lot more than Paul DiGiacomo has done. A lot more. Because, like I said before, he did nothing for me. But Scott is reaching out to call me. But I got to say that it's obvious what you need to do for not just me, for all detectives and all the cops still on the job. Okay, we need to right the wrongs that have happened. And clearly, from this evidence, you're seeing it was wrong, and the whole process was illegitimate. It's right there for you.
You know, John, there's a great comment here, and actually question from a good friend on the podcast, Mike E.G., metal detective in Long Island. I think you should respond to this one because I get this question a lot, and you're at the forefront of this. Then how are they getting away with it, John? How come nothing's happening? I think it's a great question. That's what people always ask. John, you're at the forefront. I think you should respond to that. What do you think?
Yeah, politics. Politics controls your life. Politics is everything. When people tell me I'm not going to be political, I'm like, oh, so you're just going to get smacked around and you don't want to talk about it and you don't want to talk about it and you're not going to say a word about it because literally everything you do in life, including drinking a cup of coffee, is political down to the car you drive now, right? Two weeks ago, it was cool to be a leftist and drive a Tesla. Now Elon Musk went from voting from Joe Biden to voting for Donald Trump, and now it's a patriot to drive a Tesla when all the MAGA guys were calling you a Mary for driving an electric car, right? And like people's identity are evolved around politics, and so you have these mayors, you have governors, they appoint judges. Some judges are elected, and New York is completely captured. We're seeing throughout the country all of these lawsuits get torn down, but what are they doing in New York? They're throwing them all out for zero basis. Zero basis. Like there's literally nothing. The judges should be arrested, in my opinion, removed from the bar. And you know, where's Donald Trump? Where's the Department of Justice? Where's Pam Bondi? She's still looking for her sources inside of the FBI to see where the Epstein files are. Like what's happening here? You know what I mean? And then you look at it, you're like, well, the New York State human rights law was violated, right? So what'd you do? You filed an OEO complaint, and you filed a complaint with the New York State Division of Human Rights. OEO, what had happened? They shit-canned it just like they did with actual sexual assault complaints, right? They threw it in the garbage like, nah, this is garbage. Now your human rights complaint, where does that go? Letitia James. What did Letitia James do? Nothing for you. Nothing. She didn't sue. She threw your complaint in the garbage. You know what the New York State Division of Human Rights told me? They did not, the NYPD did not, I have this in writing. I'm going to frame it. The NYPD did not discriminate against you because they accepted others. I'm like, that's the definition of discrimination. I wasn't allowed to appeal it. There was nothing I could do for it. And they basically slapped me in the face with it. They didn't respond to any of the allegations I made. Either did OEO and the NYPD, either did Internal Affairs Bureau. None of the allegations I made were addressed. The medical division did not address any of the concerns I had medically, that I had natural provable antibodies that were also denied, that we're not talking about. And they were denying them while the CDC was recognizing them. But yet the NYPD was saying it was based on CDC guidelines. And I'm like, that's not the CDC guidelines. It's not the CDC guidelines. What are you talking about? So all of these things are shut out. New York State is captured. It's completely captured, and that's why nothing's happening. That's exactly why nothing's happening, because it's not going to happen. It can't happen. Look at what was the other decision that came out? Oh, so Trump, he fires all the federal workers, right? They demonize. Now they're pitting corporate workers against federal workers. The corporate, I can get fired. Fire all of them. It's like, oh yeah, you just threw a guy in the garbage undercover in Colombia. Okay, you fired him because he didn't send an email to Elon Musk that he never read. Oh, okay, yeah. Government workers are bad. You even got cops cheering it on. I'm like, you're next, dude. I don't know what you're cheering about. Like you're cheering this on. You're a government worker. You know that, right? So Doge could just come out and say. So anyway, government workers all get fired in New York State, right? What happens? Letitia James steps in. Division of Human Rights. What does she do? She puts a lawsuit forth. Did she do that during COVID? No, she didn't say a word, right? She was like this. She was hanging out at Concha Frito with a mask off when all your businesses were shut down, right? They were doing whatever deviant things they all do.
She's alumni.
whatever deviant, demonic, sexual things they're involved in, that's what they were doing. While you were telling you can't do this, and you were singing songs, we're 6 feet apart. And I am whoever's telling me to watch out what I'm saying about Christians. No, I'm telling the damn truth about Christians. 6 feet apart, right? When you guys were doing that. And so what happens? She sues, she wins instantly, and all these people are put back to work with back pay. That's what's wrong with New York.
In a nutshell. But I want to, people should know that Tanya Meisenhower, the small part of this part with the email you showed, she was technically that mandate. I think it wasn't in October of 2021 that it was put in. So it was October or September. So she only had,
it was October.
November 11th.
It was late October. They put it in. We had 7 days and brought you to November 1st. November 1st.
I remember it was around Halloween when they offered the burger and fries.
Yeah, I remember that because I'm trying to point out that this happened and it carried into 2022, which is when Eric Adams came into power. So it really is Eric Adams who enforced all this stuff. But now we're supposed to say he's the MAGA mayor. And this is what, makes a sane person like me and others go, what are you guys doing? Because you're all bowing to these political wins, whether it's MAGA, whether it's Tesla, Musk, when really you need to be true to yourselves. Remember, you only pray to a God, a deity, which is God himself or Jesus or whatever it is, Allah, whatever you want to call it. But this here, you guys are almost, praying to the president, the mayor, the governor. This is why we in this societal the influx, the flux that we have of this is you guys are looking at the wrong people and you're not trying to hold anyone accountable. This happened under Eric Adams. It was implemented right before he got in, and it got even worse because it went from Tanya Meisenhower to Wendy Garcia. So you could only imagine what happened in that short time frame when then what happened to John and Marlon. That was Eric Adams' decisions. It's all under him. And now we're supposed to act like this guy's the MAGA mayor and he's on Team Trump. Forget about everything. Forget about everything you're listening to on the show. And we've said for years, he's great because Trump said so. Think about how you look at, stop for a second and put that in perspective. And you tell me, all this evidence that we show you, is that the right way to go about it? I think people should be held accountable here. This is outrageous stuff.
Well, KB is spot on right here. This happened to me. KB put sex parties while we couldn't attend grandma's funeral. I know I lost my father during COVID. He was in a nursing home. And to this day, I say, is that my father in that coffin? Because I never got to see him. He was in a body bag, and that body bag was in a coffin. And I had to watch my father get buried with binoculars while these guys are out there having sex parties with KY jelly. It's absolutely ridiculous. You're absolutely right. Shame how these people actually lay their heads down at night. You know what? Some things might be divine, but Eric Adams is not divine. Eric Adams continued this mandate, and people lost their jobs, and people are out there having sex parties while we couldn't even see our loved ones get buried. I don't know how these people live with themselves. I really don't.
And Eric, guess what? Now the guy running for mayor was the guy that destroyed the state using the same thing. It's a crazy twist. And some that we might know are worshiping this guy. Like he's the greatest guy ever, despite the fact that he's literally the reason why people died in nursing homes. He's crushed people financially. He's responsible for bail reform. All that stuff was him. Okay? Yet, look at the polls. It's really disturbing. But I'll tell you one. There's one thing that I saw. If there is a four-way race for mayor, and that includes Cuomo, that socialist guy, Eric Adams, and Curtis Sliwa, you'll be surprised who's actually on top because it's not the three people that you think. So I want a shootout because it actually make it more it's more parity and there's more of a chance for the outsider to win.
So it looks like that socialist has a good chance.
Got $9 million to play with. That's why.
$9 million out of 88,000 donations in New York City. So those are 88,000 voters that actually gave him money.
Yeah.
Because dude, he appeals. You know, who likes Andrew Cuomo? Who likes Eric Adams? Nobody, other than people that seek to profit from them being in office.
And low information.
Some low information people, but they're in the same circles, right? So they're all pulling from each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I personally, and that's why Adams is trying to now run as an independent, because he's like, I'm getting out of this race and I'm going to get myself on the ballot because I got no shot of winning at the Democratic primary. Yeah. So that's why he's getting out of it, because you could see a Brad Landa or Zohran Mamdani as the next mayor of New York City easily. And honestly, New York City deserves it. They deserve it. They you know, and you could thank, and I'm going to say it again, thank the GOP. I don't see any commercials for Curtis Lewa. I don't see any funding behind Curtis Lewa. I don't see the conservative influences coming out on behalf of Curtis Lewa. I don't see Donald Trump giving his nomination for Curtis Lewa. Where is the New York GOP? When they're the socialist mayor, you have to thank them. You
didn't see that article with Cuomo? There's Trump people that are throwing fundraisers for Andrew Cuomo. Did you see that one? You're in it. Does anybody realize what's going on here? It's like people are just they're in la la land. You're clinging to somebody's heels and this whole MAGA thing. And look, you really got to put things in perspective. You really do. People just continue. Again, it's that low information hook line, and that's what they go with. And I'm sorry, right now, I look at the polls. That guy with the red beret that people think, he's polling right now with this crazy feel at 34, 35%, which puts him in the lead with all these people running. If this guy got any amount of help, anything from his so-called GOP that's too busy actually funding the other people involved, he would have a shot to win. He actually has a chance. Because you know why? The two biggest names running is Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Lewa. And in the end, even the low information guy, well, I know a lot of people that go and vote and go, oh, I know him, and they just check it because they know them. It's a name they've seen in the media. So Curtis has that appeal. So that in a race of four people, got a very good chance. I'm just saying, anyone in a Republican part, Benny Johnson, who's a big MAGA guy now, big Eric Adams guy, if you actually do your research and got behind somebody that actually has the best interest for the taxpayer in New York City, maybe you have a shot with Curtis Lewa. But, you know, I guess he's a clown, but Eric Adams is a clown for saying shorties and Negroes and running around with felons, calling people crackers, hanging out with shady mob associates, committing crimes and not being charged because your pal is the president now. This is ridiculous. And people really need to put things in perspective. And I think what you're saying is a perfect way to land the plane in with what happened with Tanya Meisenhower and continued under Wendy Garcia in the police department. People really stop being low information and do goddamn research. That's why we have all these issues in the city, in the state, and in the country.
Yeah. And just so you know, that email was a month prior to them even talking about doing a mandate for the NYPD. So they were already plotting on how they were going to deny Christians. Like that's insane to me, dude. It's like it blows my mind. And the lieutenant, I know who you are. I'm just not calling you out because your name's redacted. But disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah, you know, this election is the most New York election ever. Think of it. The two leading candidates, arguably leading candidates, are Adams, because we believe that Republicans are eventually going to get behind him, right? And Cuomo. The two guys who helped destroy New York and destroy New York City are now running for re-election, and it's likely that Cuomo is probably going to win, right? And not just that, it gets crazier, right? If Cuomo doesn't win, it's going to be the socialist guy, right? Who's outright already made promises to increase social welfare, right? And so basically the same guys who helped destroy New York are now promising to fix it with more policies that destroy New York. Oh, and also to help fund all these new policies, right? What are they going to do? They're going to start taking from your pension, right? Because Kathy Hochul is already doing that. And the city's asking the police pension fund to change their contribution schedule, right? To save the city money.
Saw that, right? You saw that. Yep.
Yeah. So the same people who helped destroy it, help businesses flee the state, flee New York City, help. It's what, 500,000 people that have left already, New York City, and that's all taxpayer money. Those are all small businesses that are going to Florida, Texas, Tennessee, and leaving New York State. And what are they going to do? Instead of calling them back and improving the place, they're going to plunder from the people, from the suckers that are still here, and the suckers who are still vested in New York State. So you guys out there, you better wake up. You didn't wake up for the coup, right? You didn't wake up then. You better wake up now. Otherwise, you better get that resume ready for Walmart when you're 70. Okay?
Well, that's exactly what I've been saying. I've been saying it for 2.5 years now, that we see the Munchausen syndrome. They have created the problems. Eric Adams and Governor Cuomo, former Governor Cuomo, created the problems. And now the problems that they created, they want to treat the symptoms and say, "Oh, New York is all screwed up. We need to fix it." Oh yeah, you guys are the ones that did it. You did it. And anyone that wants to tell us, "Oh, Eric Adams was dealt a bad hand. It was Bill de Blasio." Stop. Eric Adams could have put a stop to a lot of the stuff. He could have made changes, and he didn't. Because when Eric Adams had to start making changes in different points of view for Eric Adams because he wanted a pardon or he wanted his case to be thrown out, he changed his position. He pivoted real quick. He didn't pivot at the mandate. So, that's what I get a lot. I'm sure, John, you probably get that quite often. Quite often I get, "Oh, it was Bill de Blasio. It's not Eric Adams' fault." We have to stop with that. Eric Adams is completely to blame.
Yeah, fact.
It was Eric Adams' ball. Like, it was Eric Adams. He could have ended it that day. He could have ended it the first day. It wouldn't have been a big deal at all. He would have had a ton of guys back to work. Everybody would have been back to work. Instead, he waited till right after 2 cops were murdered, and then he started firing cops after he was putting his hand on the casket. Absolutely disgraceful. What the hell was I going to say? Oh, I totally lost my train of thought. Totally. And just one more thing. I've been keep getting, and I see all these people on here. I saw New York City Retirees Union came out and endorsed Scott Stringer. I don't get it at all, but whatever. They came out and they endorsed Scott Stringer for mayor. Scott, I put out a post the other day, basically labeling out that Stringer, Zohran, Cuomo, Adams, Lander, Jessica Ramos, they all supported the defund the police movement. I put video evidence of it, not me saying it, them saying it. Put video evidence of all of them. I chronicled the whole thing. Only 3 people in the race right now that did not support the defund the police movement: Curtis Sliwa, Jim Walden, and Whitney Tilson. Whitney Tilson's a Democrat. Jim's an independent. Curtis is a Republican. They're the only 3 that didn't support the defund the police movement in 2020. But now all the people who did, they're all talking about rehiring more cops. They're all talking about all this nonsense. And I keep hearing, I heard Jessica Ramos, she was on a New York City Retirees podcast, where Marianne Pizzatola actually agreed with her when she's like, "Yeah, we don't have the money to rehire back people. And I have to speak to doctors first to make sure it's okay to hire back people like Marlon and John so that they're not, we don't endanger the people that are working." Like, complete lunacy, right? And Marianne's like, "Yeah, I agree." And I'm like, "No, I don't agree." Because the money for Marlon's salary, the money for my salary, the money for everybody else's salary was already budgeted 5 years ago. But what happened? That money was already budgeted. Oh, wait, right. So we it's not that we don't have the money. We had the money. We funded the money. All pensions and everything were funded. Everything was funded. We were good right through the time we were done. We were good. We were fully funded. Now, if Eric Adams did an illegal layoff and posed it as a vaccine mandate, or Bill de Blasio did that and then gave the money to illegals, that's not my problem. That's not Marlon's problem. You're sitting saying, what you're saying when you say we don't have the money is, you're not saying we don't have the money. You're saying we don't have the money for you. But illegals, we have the money for. That's what you're saying. And basically what you're doing is doing the same thing to yourself, because it's going to be you next. Like the same people, like there was a fat guy I worked with. He used to smoke and he drank soda. He was a big, smelly, Anyway, it's disgusting, right? And you know what he told me? You shouldn't get hospital treatment. I was like, you want to ration healthcare? I was like, you've made every poor health decision there possibly is, and you think you should get a hospital bed before me? You're the last person that should be rationing healthcare. Because I'll tell you right now, if we start on life decisions, you're going to be the first one on the chopping block. You'll be the last person to be talking to me about rationing healthcare. You should be the last. Think about that. Think about what you're saying to me. I'm like, I work out every day. I eat healthy. I run. I do my checkups. I'm constantly focused on my health all day, every day. And all you do all day, everything is diminishing your health. But yet you want to ration healthcare against me. Like, that's that same mentality. It's crazy because that mentality is coming for you.
Yep. Facts. They all think it's not their problem, you know? It's not.
I agree.
Oh, it is. It is your problem. First it's us, and then it's gonna be you.
Yeah.
Until you realize it, right? Oh shit! Well, they're coming for me too, right? I mean, hey, didn't we see that in 1942? I mean, history just plays itself all over again, right? Oh yeah, they're coming for me. So
absolutely.
Listen,
Absolutely.
like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much to our friends and listeners. We're 2 hours and 45 minutes into it. Let's start wrapping it up. Sal, any thoughts?
I think we pretty much hit a lot of topics today. We spoke a lot about different things, but it always goes back. It's like a never-ending circle, and the bottom line is that people need to wake up. You can't be low information like the jujus in the world, or whoever this guy today is, Stephen Holmes or whatever. He's talking all this kind of stuff. These are low information people. Many, unfortunately, in this country are still in this box. It's kind of like the Matrix when they come out of that pod when you're released from the Matrix and you realize you've been in a dream world the whole time. That's kind of what's happening, and you need more of that because people really need to do their research. Everything that we're saying here, go look at Cuomo's record. Go look at Eric Adams' record. Don't listen to these guys when they speak themselves because they just pat themselves on the back and trying to rewrite the history that they have. These people would be bad for the police department, for New York City, for the state, and for the country. Because remember, New York City is the financial capital of the world. Forget about the country. So these guys with the control of the levers are dangerous. The real estate markets are behind them. All these real estate cronies that me and Marlon always exposes these people. They're all behind now. First it was Eric, then it was Cuomo. And some are also in bed with the Trump orbit. So people, please do your research. And thanks for all the comments and support, especially from yesterday's show. Tuesday, I'm going to have another journalist on. I'll be discussing some other things that have been in the news. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for that. Also, don't forget, check out Executive Perspective, 17:05 every Wednesday. And I really encourage people to rewatch the episode they just did the other day on Wednesday because it featured a lot of talk about the body cameras, which I also mentioned in Sal Greco's show. So, guys, thanks for everything. And, we'll be back next Friday again for Roundtable with another crazy week of news. But thank you all. And Eric, again, you always have my support, brother. My heart goes out to you. Whatever you need, I'm there for you, dude.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on what Sal said. The low information in general is a huge problem for humanity, I think there's so many people that just go through their day kind of like a drone, they've just been trained to keep the blinders on and not look at things with a wide angle, not ask questions on their own, and not to go do some research on their own too, Now, with that said, I'm going to go on a tangent here, right? 2 days ago, there's news came out about the pyramid, right? And there's some really wacky stuff underneath it, right? Now, I'm big in ancient archaeology and stuff, right? But there's some wacky stuff underneath it that doesn't fit in with the timeline of humanity. Now, I'm bringing that up because for how long we've been told that the pyramids are tombs, built in 3000 BC. And here it is, they're talking about gigantic columns underneath the pyramid. They're saying the entire structure of the pyramid is on par with the Burj Khalifa, right? The tallest structure on the earth right now. Now, that's something that could not have been made in the timeline that we know. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because there's a lot in the world. The world is a strange place. and we all have to ask questions and do some research and not be low information, look at it with a wider angle. And that applies to everything, from politics, from our day-to-day lives, and here we see history. So with that said, thank you guys for being with us, and I hope everyone has a great weekend. And it's great to have you on here again, Eric. And again, our thoughts and prayers are with you. And everyone have a great weekend again.
Well, listen, it's 2 hours and 50 minutes. Like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate it. And I see people putting here prayers for Eric and his family. Thank you so much. It's been the most challenging year of my life. And I hope you guys know the friends and listeners on this podcast, doing the podcast, really helps keep my mind off things. The khaki pants that told me a while back to go get a life. I think I found a life. So, all kidding aside, I appreciate all the support, whether it's funds or just people sending their prayers or offering advice about medicines or doctors. We have never left any stone unturned in this. I wish this on no one, even my worst enemy. It's truly it's really challenging. It's a pain that you go through every day, and this really helps. So thank you, everyone. We will see you Monday. John, close us out. Thank you. Awesome podcast, as always. Sal Greco, Marlon, John, thank you. Jack, who helps us behind the scenes, and, of course, our executive perspective, the Finest Unfiltered family. John.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate all you guys. We had about 700 people with us here all morning. Appreciate you and the listeners that are going to listen after. We'll be back Monday live 8:05. And Marlon, just on the pyramids, I think it's a great point. It's historical. Like, every historian will acknowledge that the pyramids were built prior to us supposedly having the technology to do so, but will not explore why that is or how that happened. So I think it's true. And that's why this platform is a free flowing platform. We allow the haters, the jujus, the other loser, whatever his pretend name and photo is. We welcome everybody because honestly, your perspective matters. Ron Layson, had made us plaques, and on the back of it said, your perspective matters. It does. I'm not discounting anybody's argument against anything I'm saying, and nobody on here is doing that either. We're just coming at it with facts, and we hope that if you come on, you don't come emotionally charged. I think there's so much emotion in politics today or in discussions. And, as Eric has always said, we're treated as children that we have to go sit in the corner and can't talk. The adults are speaking. Well, guess what? The adults are speaking and the children are hiding and they don't want to have the conversation. And yes, we're talking to you, Jessica Tisch. We're talking to the upper echelon of the NYPD. We're talking to you, Eric Adams, right? And that's it. The adults are speaking. We do have a voice. We do matter. Our perspective matters. Our voice should be heard. All of our voices should be heard. So appreciate all of you. I hope you guys are having fun with us. And we're going to leave it off with the second worst mayor in New York City history. Looking forward to Monday Live 8:05, and we'll be back at you. Finest Unfiltered.
Now, the most important reason to get vaccinated is to protect yourself and your family and your city, but there's another good reason. Second most important reason to get vaccinated. Krispy Kreme for free. Okay? I'll tell you how good it is. Oh my God. Heavenly. Go get vaccinated. What are you waiting for? Right now.
There's a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it.
Protect yourself and your family and your city, but
all of a sudden they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime. But nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?
Law enforcement professionals dedicate their lives to serving and protecting our community. But who's protecting their financial futures? That's where Laidlaw Blue comes in. Our wealth management platform is specifically designed for the law enforcement community. Laidlaw Blue is a division within Laidlaw Wealth Management, run by retired New York City detective John McDermott. His status as a retired detective uniquely positions him to establish a deep connection between Laidlaw Blue and the law enforcement community. Our platform is easy to use and provides a range of financial services, including investment management, retirement planning, and insurance solutions. With Laidlaw Blue, you can secure your financial future and provide for your loved ones. Our team of experienced financial advisors understands the unique challenges and opportunities that law enforcement professionals face. We're here to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning and achieve your goals. Laidlaw Blue. Secure your financial future today. Book a meeting using the QR code displayed or call us directly on 888 901 Blue. That's 888 901 Blue.